It's a long way from home, but since 1991, the stars of the ChampCar World Series have added their own brand of fun to the party atmosphere on Queensland's Gold Coast. Surfers Paradise in Australia has traditionally been one of the more popular and most intriguing races of the ChampCar season. For example, flashback to last year when the race took on a very French attitude. Sébastien Bourdais drove to a steady 8th place finish to secure his 3rd consecutive season championship. And while Bourdais was cozying up to the Vanderbilt Cup, the race victory went to an aggressive Nelson Philippe, who at 20 years old became the youngest winner in the history of the series. Today, both men return to the streets of surfers, along with a field of rapid rivals, to do battle in the 17th running of the ChampCar Grand Prix Australia. Welcome to the penultimate round of this year's ChampCar World Series. I'm Jeremy Shaw. With me today, sitting in for James Hinchcliffe, is Ryan Dial. Ryan, thanks for joining us. I know you'd much rather be behind the wheel of a ChampCar, especially in Surfers Paradise.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Of course I would. But you know what, Surfer Paradise is a great track, fast, bumpy, exciting, anything can happen. And even not driving, it's fun to be part of this.
Yeah, just a tremendous atmosphere as ever here on the Gold Coast. Over 300,000 people expected over the weekend. Lots of storylines this weekend. One of them, of course, as ever, is Sébastien Bourdais. He's looking to become the first man ever to win 4 consecutive championships in the ChampCar World Series. But his week did not start well, doing a promotional event a few miles up the coast here on the Gold Coast, and all went wrong at the wheel of a Subaru WRX rally car. And it didn't get much better for Sébastien Bourdais. He crashed here on the streets on Friday as well in first qualifying. The other man, of course, that everybody is looking at this weekend, Will Power, just born in Tour, but just up again, just a few miles away from Surfers Paradise. 1 year ago, though, Sébastien Bourdais made a very optimistic lunge down there at turn 3. That contact put Will Power out of the race, and he is looking to set the record straight right now, 1 year later. Lots of driver changes this weekend at Forsyth Championship Racing. Oriol Servia out. In comes David Martinez from Mexico. At BKV Racing, Tristan Gomedy out. Servia just slots right in there. At PCM, Ryan Dial is alongside me this weekend, ousted for Mario Dominguez for the last 2 races of the season. And at Conquest Racing, Jan Halen, despite a magnificent run to second at Assen, he's out, replaced by Nelson Philippe. Here on the Gold Coast, 16 years we've been racing here, and never has there been a repeat winner. This weekend, though, 5 drivers, Ryan, have a chance to set that record straight.
Of course, 5 drivers in today's race could do the double, and you know, never discount Sébastien. But to be honest, Paul's been strong. I want to see Paul do it.
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? He's had a really dismal season, has Paul Tracy. Let's have a look at the starting group. He's had just a dismal year. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's race. First of all, let's have a look at some qualifying highlights. And we've had, as ever, there's been drama here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. It's a very tough racetrack. And on Friday, Will Power even got it wrong. He came back, of course, magnificently, but he got it wrong there on Friday. No real damage. There is the newly relived rocket sports car of Alex Tagliani. He's had a couple of podium finishes here. And there is Mario Dominguez stepping in for Ryan Dial. I don't know whether PCM made the right move there. Sébastien Bourdais, here's that shunt he had on Friday. 3 times in 4 years he's crashed in that corner, has Sébastien. But the man on Friday was Oriol Servia. He steps into that BKB car, and there is the team manager, Mark Johnson. A magnificent job by Oriol Servia that guaranteed him a front row start for the race. On Saturday, here's Dan Clark, much more competitive for Minardi Team USA, but he had it wrong as well. But this, in fact, magnificent lap from Will Power was enough to snare the pole position. But the man who challenged him hardest was Paul Tracy. Just a great effort by PT. In 14 years here, he's never qualified, he's only once qualified out of the top 6, but it was Will Power that took that pole position. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's race. It's a new track record for Will Power, eclipsing the old mark set by Cristiano D'Amato. We'll have a look at the starting lineup, and on the pole position, his 4th pole of the year, 2nd in a row right here in Surfers, is Will Power. Oriol Servia, his only career pole came right here 2 years ago on row 2 of the grid. It's Paul Tracy. It's his first top 5 qualifying effort since the first race of the season. Sébastien Bourdais is alongside.
Row 3, Justin Wilson, winner last time out, fast all weekend. Look for him to move forward. Alongside him, Simone Pagenaud. Row 4, Bruno Junqueira, Neil Janney. Bruno coming off a couple of back-to-back podiums. Good results for Dale Coyne Racing.
Row 5 of the grid. Graham Rahal is disappointed with that run in the second, and Newman Haas Lanigan cars, and alongside is Dan Clark. On row 6 on the grid, Alex Tagliani and Mario Dominguez. Dominguez, he's had 3 podiums right here at Surface, including a win in 2002.
Row 7, Nelson Philippe back in ChampCar, back with Conquest. His first race since the finale in 06. Alongside him in row 7, Robert Dornbus.
And alone,
row 8, Alex Figge alongside Catherine Legg. Both disappointed this weekend. Both look to move forward in this race.
And alone at the back of the grid is David Martinez, making his second ChampCar start for Forsyth Championship Racing. Be kind of off the pace in qualifying, but really to be expected. Just one brief test in the car at Sebring a few weeks ago. I don't think that's really ample preparation for what is a very tough racetrack right here in Surfers Paradise. We're going to have various in-car cameras for you to bring some really exciting footage. You can see the weather conditions just about perfect right here on the Gold Coast. Graham Rahal, Will Power, the local hero, will start from the pole, of course. Justin Wilson, the winner last time out in Assen. And then Simon Pagenaud also will bring us some on-board footage. As ever nowadays, a standing start in the ChampCar World Series. That's the first time we've had a standing start right here at Surface, and it's going to be thrilling. When the lights come, they will come on in sequence. When they go out, we will be racing on the streets of Surfers Paradise just a few seconds ago, and then we'll be off, and this is one of the most exciting parts of the entire afternoon. Well, we didn't quite see the lights.
Bruno Junqueira stalled.
Yeah, Bruno Junqueira stalled it, didn't he? What a disappointment there. Will Power, he had the run, and Paul Tracy is going side by side with Oriol Servia. Oh no, there's contact between the two.
Tracy's off.
Oh, what a disaster for Paul Tracy.
I think
a magnificent start by Will Power.
Yeah, Will did exactly what he had to do. He needs to get out front, he needs to stay out of trouble, and you know, it's actually a fairly clean start. The trouble happened way before the break zone. I think maybe Paul got tapped by somebody.
Yeah, maybe he did, and certainly it was a disaster. And there's Alex Tagliani, that newly re-liveried car for the Rocket Sports team, diving down the inside of Mario Dominguez down there in turn 3. That was a nice clean pass at least. Behind there is Nelson Philippe, and that's he's done a good job this weekend as Nelson Philippe. He hasn't driven a ChampCar for almost a whole year.
Sure, you know, he only had one test early in the year in that car, and you know, Nelson's competitive. He obviously ran here last year, won the race, and people expect him to be the front, so it's been a tough transition for him to come back in with his car, but I'm impressed so far. Yeah, I think he's done a very good job, because he's been living here on the Gold Coast for the last couple of months. His girlfriend, none other than last year's Miss Indy here on the Gold Coast, Sarah Buller, and as a result of that little blossoming relationship, Nelson's been down here for quite a while. He loves it in Surfers Paradise. I think it's fair to say he did say even before he met Sarah. Well, I think he's had a bittersweet year. You know, he met the girl of his dreams by the sounds of it, but had to stay out for most of the season.
Yeah, but he's thrilled now to be back out the wheel of any car, particularly with Conquest Racing, who's did he's done 19 races of the 38 in his ChampCar career with this team. Look at this huge crowd on hand, and they're cheering every yard of the way for their man Will Power. A great first lap by the Australian. He's in the lead of the race, of course. That's where he was 1 year ago, and he led convincingly in the early stages until he was taken out by that man right there, Sebastian Bourdais. But a nice clean start, and already the top 3 distinguishing themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happened to Bruno. I mean, I don't know if they got him running or if they put him, you know, you're going to see here Bruno just in the middle of the picture on the right.
Oh, look at Graham Rahal just squeezed past, and then Alex Tagliani as well. That was close.
I have to tell you, that's happened a couple of times this year, and I've been at the back, and it's not a nice feeling when you come towards a guy that fast. It doesn't look like, you know, it doesn't look like Paul did anything wrong, to be honest. I think he was in the right place, and I don't know, that was, in my opinion, that was 50-50. I think Oriol could have given him a little more room in the first lap of the race, but starting up there, you got to go for it, I guess.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, those two came together also in the first time that Oriol came here in the year 2000. I think there was a contact between those two at the first corner, and they were talking about it in the press conference on Friday, and they were both saying, well, you know, we hope that doesn't happen again, but it has.
It's always going to happen. I mean, if it's, you know, just coincidences, those two, but something's always going to happen. Turn 1 at Surfers, and this year's no different. I mean, we expect it.
It's a very fast entry down there. It's a little bit bumpy in that braking area. Plus, it's on a slight curve to the right before they have to turn sharp left.
You know, this year's been a lot better with the standing starts. It's slowed pace down a lot into turn 1, but you know, that's just proof there that everybody has to just take it back a little bit. You know, luckily by the looks of it, I think Bruno kept going. I think Paul's still going. So, you know, at least we didn't have a full course caution. They're both still in the lead lap.
Yeah, I think Bruno just about was able to stay on the lead lap, I believe. That's what the scoring is showing right now, but he's going to need a full course caution to get right back into contention. There is Sebastian Bourdais. He's looking to make history this afternoon. All he needs to clinch the championship is, and here's a look at Graham Rahal diving down to the inside of Neil Jarney. Two rookie drivers there. That is at turn 3, and a classic over-under move. That's on board with Graham Rahal down the inside, but into it a little bit too deep, and Jarney gets a good run off the corner, Ryan.
You know, Graham's had a strange year in my opinion. He's obviously in a good car. He's struggled a lot in qualifying, and he always comes through in the race. You know, I think Newman has to do a great job keeping him up front and keeping his fuel strategy the way he needs to be, but I think it's definitely, and I'm sure he knows this, it's something he needs to work on for next year. And you know what, he's 18 years old to get thrown in the deep end, and he hasn't made many mistakes, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I know he's been very forthright with himself, really.
Sure.
He knows he should be doing a better job of that car. He should be qualifying regularly amongst the top 5, but he does seem to race better than he qualifies.
You know, it's one thing in these cars running around in a practice session. It's another thing doing 5 laps in qualifying. I tell you, those 5 laps are harder than any race distance you do. And you know, it takes everybody a long time. I mean, I'm the first to admit, I wasn't really on it with qualifying. It took me a long time, but it's difficult.
In the chicanes and on the curves. Every driver out here has admitted that Will Power has the fastest speed through those sections of the track. Simone has admitted they've been giving him a lot of trouble. So if Simone can pick up speed through those chicanes today with the help of Will Power, he'll be a very happy race car driver.
That's Bill Stevens on the ground in Surfers Paradise, and he will bring us reports from the pit lane. Our apologies if we don't know exactly when they're coming. We're kind of reliant on the US domestic broadcast here, but I hope you'll forgive us for missing the first couple of words perhaps on Bill Stevens, but it's good, I think, to have those reports for you, and it can bring us some in-depth action from the pit lane. On board here with Will Power, crashing, running well over those curbs, those chicanes. They've changed the curbs a little bit this year, Ryan.
Yeah, you know what Bill was touching on first there was the Pagano Power. Obviously, you know, Power's been dominant in the past day or so, and you know, Simone has that information. It's good for him to see what's going on. And there's just a couple of corners, the fast chicanes, for example, that he's losing out. So, you know, speaking of those fast chicanes, they have lowered the curbs this year, and I think a lot of the reason they did it is the new DP01. It doesn't like the curbs as much as the old car, and I think they lowered them strictly for safety and to make this a better show for the fans. And I think so far, you know, you're seeing the speeds. The speeds are rocketing fast compared to other years, and I think they made the right decision by lowering these curbs.
So there over the chicane is Justin Wilson. That fast chicane on the back straight, wow, that is just a great series of corners.
In typical ChampCar style, Justin Wilson's already saving fuel. That slight onboard we had here, let's see if we can hear it again here. Justin gets on the straight. Hopefully we can get an onboard with him at some point. One of the best in the business for saving fuel, and in ChampCar when it's running green like this, that's key. At this point, they're running nose to tail, but it's whoever can save the most fuel at this point.
So here we are on board here with Justin Wilson. This is one of the fastest parts of the course. Let's have a quick brief. Let's just hear him go down to the chicane. We'll come to this graphic in a minute. We can't hear it right there. Well, never mind. Losing boost. Yeah, there's. You might remember if you're watching the race from Assen, there were some problems with the Cosworth power to pass system, and apparently being interfered with the pit lane control system on those cars. And halfway through the race director Tony Cockman instructed the team to tell their drivers not to use any more of that Cosworth power to pass. Well, several drivers did, including Ryan Dial, who's sitting right alongside me, and as a result of that, they've been penalised for this weekend. Their push to pass allocation has been reduced from 75 seconds to 35 seconds. That affects Will Powers on the pole position and looking to get the Australian crowd really on their seats, on the edge of their seats. Simon Pagenaud, Bruno Junqueira, and also Neil Jarney and Dan Clark as well. And Ryan, we were talking to you earlier this weekend, and you were one of the guys who was pinged for that. Yep. But you were saying, you know, it was awfully tough to hear the radio communication at Assen.
Well, you know, we have drivers meetings throughout the weekend, and one thing the drivers make clear to Tony Coleman is something he always asks us is how's the radio communication, so they know when to talk to us. And you know, me, like a lot of the drivers, didn't hear it on the backside of the track, and you know, my crew, I'm not much of a talker, but my crew didn't really relay it enough times that I heard. So I think the biggest disappointment is that they've upped the push to pass time to 75 instead of 60. So I think the penalty is very harsh. I think the penalty on 60 seconds, I think a 25-second penalty is bad, but to have it on that length of time, it's huge. I think it's a silly call when you get down to the nitty-gritty of a championship and you've got the guys out front that have less than half of the other guys. It's not fair.
No, there's a lot of people thinking that way, but then again, you know, some of the other other guys say, well, you know, that's the rules, that's what we have to stick by. The rules might have been a last-minute rule, but that's what they're sticking by. Will Power, who started from the pole, perhaps you would argue might have as much to lose as anybody else. He said, hey, that's what I've been dealt. Those are the cards I have been dealt. It's up to me now to pull out enough of a lead so I don't need that extra Cosworth power to pass.
Sure, and you know, like it's been referred to many times this year, is power push to defend as well. So I think that's where it comes into it more key. You know, there's only so many times that power has it over Bourdais, and at this stage in the race, you know, they're just going to hold it. You know, Bourdais is one of the smartest guys out there. He's going to hold it back. You know, he's going to make sure coming down to the end of this race, he's got more than what Power has.
And look at this battle here. This is the battle for 7th on back. We saw Graham Rahal get past Neil Jarni a few laps ago. He was able to make that pass stick, and now Jarni has his hands full. Right there behind him is Dan Clark, then Alex Tagliani, Nelson Philippe right there in 10th place, Mario Dominguez, Robert Dornbos, Catherine Legg, Alex Figge, all in that train of cars stacking up behind Neil Jarni. And we think this is going to be a 3 pit stop race, particularly if it goes green all the way. However, the drivers are always trying to save fuel, as Ryan alluded to a few minutes ago, and as this year has progressed, it seems one of the drivers that is least good at saving fuel is this man Neil Jarni. And Ryan, it's not easy to try and save fuel in these cars, but it is a crucial factor. The more fuel you can save or less you can use. Bill Stevens has a bit more from that down on the pit lane.
5 drivers were penalized because they used power to pass in Holland when they were told not to by race control. The other 4, Team Australia, Will Power, Simone Pagenaud, plus Neil Jarni and Bruno Junqueira. 35 seconds of power to pass late in the race. That could be a factor.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Just reiterating what we were talking about there. And you're talking about this saving fuel, not really saving fuel, just using as little fuel as you possibly can. If you can do that, then of course you need to put, the team needs to put less fuel into the car during the pit stops. That will save time, but it's not easy to get that better fuel consumption right.
You know what it is? It's a fine line between trying to push to stay ahead of the other guy and vice versa, keeping the guy behind you. But these guys at this point of the year, they know what they're doing.
Yes, they do. And early stages here in Surfers Paradise, and Will Power leads. So we have now how many laps in the book? 6 laps completed, and Will Power has just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 34.225. It's about 4 seconds slower than his record pole position effort, and his gap from first to second, almost 2 seconds now over Aurel Servia, and a very almost identical gap back to Sebastian Bourdais in 3rd place. Simon Pagenaud runs in 4th, then Justin Wilson, Graham Rahal, and then behind Graham Rahal is this big battle going on for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th on board here with Nelson Philippe.
9-5. Get up,
9-5 the instruction, Ryan Dial.
There's 2 things to look at here. First of all, the 9-5 is the code names they'll use for their fuel. Every team uses something different. You're obviously telling Nelson to hit a number. That'll give him 1 extra lap. To get more than 1 extra lap is physically impossible under green. So they're telling him a number, and if he can't reach that number, they'll tell him to push.
Fuel number's still good, just don't burn any more than that.
That's the number there we heard. So that's another number. They're telling him to stay at that. The second thing we saw was how much he was lifting towards the brake zone. You know, the best way to save fuel is lift 3-4 second count before your brake zone. Just lift off all the pedals completely. Doing that into every corner, it saves you a ton of fuel.
Yes, indeed. And on a long racetrack, this is almost 3 miles around.
Done the last 2 laps. 1.76 is your number. 1.76.
That's
Here's Dan Clark trying to make a move, and side by side there goes Neil Jarni. They both straight down the chicane. The drivers have been told in the race briefing as Dan Clark might have, he's suddenly slowed down there as Dan Clark.
Yeah, he's those carbs. He's got broken front suspension.
Nose, isn't he? Yeah.
He hit pretty hard there.
Be careful bringing it in. Just stay out of the way. Bring it in as good as you can. We'll work on it. We'll look at the right front.
Vince Kramer, the team manager at Minardi Team USA, telling Dan Clark to take it easy, just bring it back and we'll work on the car. And that was a dodgy place to try and make a pass there, and it didn't come off for Dan Clark.
No, and you know that's what's going to happen if you stick your nose in there. Neil would have caused a crash if Neil hadn't kind of stuck to what he was doing, and it could have been dangerous for both of them. So the speed that Dan hit the curbs was bent the suspension there, so I would say his day is done at this point.
Yeah, could well be. It's certainly a shame for Dan. He's been, well, exciting. That's perhaps the word that describes him best. He's been like that for the last 2 years in the ChampCar World Series. It certainly brings a flair to the series. And here he is now. He's brought that car back to the pit lane. First of all, they're going to change the tyres, but then you can see, I think, the top wishbone on the right front suspension appears to be damaged. Bill Stevens is right there.
Out there. We're still going to come up with an okay finish out of this. We'll get you back out there.
Bill is Will with having a word with Will Phillips, who's one of the race engineers. There is a replay of that incident at that very quick chicane. You can see there how he clipped the tyres there, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it's right here. He breaks it just there. Yeah, it breaks just as he hits that last curb there. But I don't know. It's I don't really know whose call that goes to be honest.
No, I think it's one of them racing deals.
Unfortunately, each guy's going to blame the other one, but. I guess Neil's still on the track.
Yeah, the onus is on the overtaking driver, isn't it? I mean, Neil Jarney had the line into that corner,
sure.
And even though Dan Clark is alongside, it's still Neil Jarney's corner.
I think we have a full course yellow here.
Yes, I think we do. Not quite sure why we have a full course caution, but there is Will Power. He brings that down, and as soon as that yellow comes out, he dials back.
Sure, at this point it's straight into seventh gear, safe fuel.
Yeah, these days, of course, Bill Stevens is with Will Phillips, who's the race engineer for Dan Clark at Minardi Team USA. And that team is working on the car number 4. They're going to try and get it back into the fray. And again, here's a look at the
and they're telling me right now that the right front wishbone was damaged. That is the problem. They're switching it out right now and hope to get Dan back quickly. But I just spoke to Will Phillips. He says this should not be a major concern for them if they can get this thing repaired quickly enough.
So there's the problems with the audio problems there from Australia. As I think there's some sort of a thing there with Paul Tracy might have had some sort of a drama there as well. Of course, had that spin earlier on and rejoined the fray, but this is certainly good news for PT. This is exactly what he and Bruno Junqueira needed. They both had the problems on the very first lap, and this is going to enable them to catch up to the back of the pack. I think, will we see pit stops now? We're about halfway through what would be a scheduled first stint. Would you come in right now?
At this point, I think it'd be wise to come in. They can finish the race under one more stop at this point. So if they came in now, sure, that's going to be one green stop till the end. So it would make sense.
Oh, no, I think it would be 2 from here, unless it's a long queue. We reckon we probably need about 6 laps of caution in order to bring it down from 3 pit stops to 2 pit stops. But a lot of strategy to be played out here on the streets of Surfers Paradise, and it's Will Power who leads still. Back to Surfers Paradise, and a particular welcome to our viewers on Eurosport, on Fox Sports, and especially Sky TV in New Zealand. Great to have you guys with us. I know you've been starved of ChampCar action in recent months, so great to have you back. And right here is just one of the marquee events on the ChampCar World Series. My name is Jeremy Shaw, Ryan Dial alongside me, and once again it's been a fabulous event. A huge crowds on hand for this magnificent sporting event, and it's been Will Power who's led the early stages, but pit stops now underway. Let's have a look here. This is Will Power, the local favourite from Toowoomba in Queensland, Team Australia, and there is Oriol Servia stepping in this race for Tristan Gomondi. We believe there's some sort of an incident on pit lane, and there is Will Power. Apparently some sort of contact with David Martinez. Goodness knows how that could have happened, because Will should have led the field onto pit lane. But whoa, he's getting an answer here clearly.
I can only imagine Martinez was swinging in front of him. You're going to see here, swinging in.
Oh no. What a mistake.
That's unbelievable.
And that's a bad mistake by Team Australia, and most unusual. Generally it's Derek Walker behind the wall who calls for the driver to go, and you cannot blame David Martinez. He's just pulling into his pit stop. It's up to the Team Australia guys to make sure the road is clear, right, Neil?
Exactly. I mean, there's only one guy to blame there, and that's whoever releases Will from his pits. Yeah, you can actually see the front. It looks like the front right wishbone's bent a tiny bit. This is pretty devastated for Will at this point. I mean, Martinez had nothing to do, and Will had nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, poor old Will. I mean, he's done everything right here. He made his debut right here in Australia 2 years ago. Was running well inside the top 10 when he was taken out in turn 3 by his then teammate Alex Tagliani. And then last year, he dominated the early stages until taken out by Sebastian Bourdais, also in turn 3, but this time it doesn't happen in turn 3, it happens in the pit lane for poor Will Power, and certainly no fault of the driver in that instance. It's up to the team to tell their driver to go, make sure the road is clear, and that they did not do, and they generally have a very what they think is an error-proof system there in the Team Australia pit, and I think it's generally Derek Walker himself from behind the pit wall who tells his driver to leave when it's clear to leave his pit stall. Clearly it wasn't. Sebastian Bourdais seems to be on the back of the pack as well. I think probably perhaps that Bruno Junqueira maybe did not make a pit stop along with everybody else. I don't know, we're going to try and get...
Got green this time.
You know, it's a little deja vu from Wilson and Tracy last year, is it not? Oh, sorry, Will Power and Tracy last year. Didn't they come together in the pits?
Yes, they did indeed, you're right. And Will escaped that apparently without any serious damage.
Yeah.
It was just afterwards, wasn't it, he was taken out by Sebastian Bourdais over in turn 3. So we've got a new race leader now. It's one of the Team Australia cars, isn't it? I mean, one of the Minardi Team USA cars, I should say.
Yeah, you know what? They probably left Dornbos out. That looks like Dornbos to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's his helmet, isn't it? And I think also Paul Tracy and Bruno Junqueira also did not make their pit stops, and would continue with the back of the pack. Probably a good call. The green flag is out, and there goes our new race leader. We're trying to get down to Bill Stevens, who is standing by with Derek Walker, but there goes the green flag. We're racing once again here on the streets of Surface Paradise. It's Robert Dormos who leads.
It's just unfortunate. These pits are pretty devil. We just screwed up and went out too soon. Killed his day, I'm afraid.
They've got their fingers crossed down here.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate what's going on here. I think that was a strange move by Dormos. They basically need to have a caution and 5 to 7 laps at this point to make this kind of work for them, I think. So otherwise they're going to have to make a green flag stop.
Yeah, but I think right now I'm pretty sure everybody else at this stage is going to have to make 2 more pit stops. If there's another 3 or 4 laps of caution, then these guys can make their stops under green flag conditions. Because it's such a long track here, you won't probably lose a whole lap, so it could work out in their favour. Certainly Derek Walker and Keith Wiggins also at Minardi Team USA, some of the best strategists in the business, along with Dale Coyne.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's just the luck of the draw. It can swing in both ways here. We tried both this year. Definitely the guys in the back, you understand why Dormos did its track position, and they believe they have a fast car. They ran better in the warm up this morning, and maybe they think they got something to run at the front here.
Yes, indeed. And there is Mario Dominguez in your car there with Tecate on the rear wing. That will be adorned on the car also in Mexico City for the final round of the championship in 3 weeks' time. Shot there of Catherine Legg ahead of David Martinez, and there is Dan Clark. Well, they're still working on that car. Dan is still at the wheel. He's hoping to get back in the fray, but it doesn't look terribly good.
You know, the way this race is going, they should fix it, send him out, because he might still end up in the top 10.
In the rack.
Take a look at the fastest lap, has now been set by Sebastian Bourdais. In actual fact, the 1:33.8. That was set on lap 7 just before we went to this full course caution. Now 12 laps in the books. It's Dormos who leads from Tracy, and that man there, Bruno Junqueira, for Dale Coyne Racing. He stalled on the start of the race, was right at the back of the pack. These top 3 elected not to make a pit stop during that recent full course caution. Now they find themselves at the front, and for Bruno Junqueira, once again he's been quick this weekend, and amazingly for Dale Coyne Racing, the smallest team in the paddock, as there is Alex Figge off the road for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team. Just a quick note again about Dale Coyne Racing. In 23 years they had 2 podium finishes. The last 2 events in Europe, Bruno Junqueira was on the podium. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think we're going to get yellow here. These cars with the new gearbox are very hard to find the reverse, and if Alex has kept it going, I still don't know if he's going to be able to find reverse out there. So this is going to be exactly what what Dormus, Tracy, ChampCar needed.
Yeah, and the yellow is out there. You can see the double yellow flags. So now we will see these top 3 onto pit lane. And
with 2 extra laps of fuel.
Yeah, so this could work out in their favour, but it's certainly, again, I think just a little bit earlier than they would have liked. There's a look again at Alex Figge just leaving his braking just a tad too deep, Ryan.
Yeah, I think, he obviously got bunched back up again and was running with some of the faster guys there. Just wanted to see where he was at, but looks like he logged the rears. We actually, at Pacific Coast, we had a lot of trouble this year with the brakes, and we seemed to have kind of the biggest problem in the paddock. And I actually spoke to Alex yesterday, and he told me that the problems, the curse continues. So I think you're gonna find that.
Of course, you've driven the first dozen races of the season with the Pacific Coast Motorsports team, a startup operation this year. First of all, we're sorry we're not in the car for the final 2 races. I guess it's a business decision there. Mario Dominguez comes along with some sponsorship, specifically from Tecate, to do the final 2 races of the season. I know you're disappointed not to be finishing out the season in this team, Ryan.
Yeah, gutted. I had a long relationship with Pacific Coast and the Figge family, and both Alex and myself took it hard, and it's something that was out of his control, and obviously it was a shock to me, but that's the way racing is. Just the business is bad just now, and Mario came along with a big paycheck. I understand the decision why it was done. Yeah, unfortunately Scotland doesn't have many breweries that big.
That's exactly right. But it has to be said, the PCM team and the Figge family, they have been very good for you the last 3 years. You've driven in the ALMS, in Grand Am, and almost a full season in ChampCar as well.
Almost, not quite, but maybe one day.
The team has really made good strides apparently the last few races, right? So it's a tough beginning.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. We're competitive enough on the street courses for a first-year team, and we struggle a lot on the road courses. I expected Mario to be further up the grid. Our past few street courses we've qualified in the top 10, and we've run strong in the top 8. So a little disappointed with him for a couple of reasons, but that's about personal stuff. But you know what? They've done a good job for the first year, and I don't think anybody can take any credit away from them for that.
A couple of several top 10 finishes and a top 10 qualifying effort for yourself as well. Let's have a look now. We've got 13 laps completed in a 1 hour 45-minute race. A long time to go. Still under caution, the second caution of the day here at Surfers Paradise. And Robert Dornbos, Paul Tracy and Bruno Junqueira have not brought their cars onto pit lane, which certainly surprises me. I know they would be liking to stretch their fuel load as long as they possibly can. If they can go another lap or 2, then perhaps they could get to the air at the end of the race with just one more pit stop. Bill Stevens with Michael Cannon, race engineer at Minardi Team.
Down here with Michael Cannon. This is the car that you ran in San Jose. We know what happened there, from dead last to win the race. It appears as if you may be in the same position to use a good alternate strategy to do it again. Is that the plan right now?
I mean, that was our only hope. After qualifying, we put ourselves in a bit of a pickle, didn't we? So this is all we've got going right now. It's working out. It's very doable from where we are, and this yellow actually helps us.
Will we see Robert come in for a pit stop now?
Yeah, indeed. What we're trying to do is get Robert. He's the leader right now. He has to make 2 stops. The other guys have to make 2 stops.
The wheels are turning.
Yeah, thanks Bill Stevens there with Michael Cannon, the race engineer for Robert Dornbos. And what Michael's saying there is everybody right now has to make 2 more pit stops. I think we've now had maybe 5 laps of full course caution. We reckoned coming into this race, if we had 6 laps of caution, then the drivers would be able to make it on just 2 pit stops. Here's a look now at Will Power back into the pit lane after that incident with David Martinez. They're still effecting repairs to that right front corner, the suspension on that corner of the car. Apparently it's been done to their satisfaction, and it's Les Shannon and the boys on car number 5 that
Leaders going up to turn 3 right now, so plenty of time to catch them up.
And that is Derek Walker on the radio with Will Power saying the field is in turn 3, so you've got plenty of time to catch him up. He'll be at the back of the pack, but his car is apparently now in good shape.
Sure, it's if this is one to go this time, I'm not sure it's one to go this time or one to go next time, but what you're going to find is Dornbos, Tracy, ChampCar all going to come in as soon as they see the one finger, get back out. The field will be halfway around, they'll get round, they'll have some heat in the tyres, and they'll be good to go at that point.
Yes, they will, and they're hoping that from there they can make it to the end of the race with just one more pit stop, and they know that everybody else, or they're thinking that everybody else in the race might possibly have to make 2 pit stops before the end of the race. So an awful lot of strategy to be played out. Look at at that. Look at the career profile of Robert Dornbos, 26 years of age. He was a former test driver in Formula 1 for the Red Bull team. Made his debut, of course, in Las Vegas, the first race of this season. He's had a couple of magnificent wins. Been a little bit inconsistent, however. And this weekend certainly has not been one of his best. He qualified way back in the 14th position, which is certainly not where he wanted to start on what is very much regarded as a driver's track here in Surfers Paradise. One of the more demanding street circuits that we go to. Is very, very fast, and that team has struggled, as we heard Michael Cannon say, all weekend long. But now Robert Dornbos finds himself in the lead, and he'll be looking to take full advantage of that when we go back to green flag racing, and that will be in just a few seconds. Just a couple of corners to go now before we go back to green in Surfers Paradise. We're on lap 15. Lap 14 hasn't been completed. It's a 1 hour and 45 minute race, and we are about 1/2 hour into the race, so still a long, long way to go. And the green will come out now. They're coming out of this final corner. It's important to get the power down smoothly and cleanly and get a good run onto the front straight away.
Great restart from Robert Dornbos. That was exactly what he needed to do. He played some games with Paul before that, and Paul let him have it. Green flag.
Look at that, Oriol Servia got a run on Sebastian Bourdais side by side, coming down into the first corner, and Oriol Servia this time backs out of it. Remember, on the first lap he and PT got together down there. This time it is clean.
Just before we hit to green, I don't know if you saw, we had a close-up on Will Power's car. Looks like he does have some damage on that front right steering arm, so it's one of those things. The toe's going to be off. If it's not bent enough, it shouldn't break, but unfortunately on the right side of the car on this track, that could be the end of his winning position.
It's certainly not got a good position to be in. Of course, it's steel suspension used on the DP01 ChampCars, not carbon as in Formula 1. In Formula 1, his race would already have been over. At least now he's got at least a chance to be able to get to the end of the race.
Exactly. They probably looked at it and they probably had a couple of guys grab it and move it around a bit. Just, a lot of the guys will just shake it and see if it's strong enough, and the teams aren't going to send you out if it's dangerous. So, it's... let's see, sometimes strange things happen racing. I've had times where we've bent stuff and we end up going faster. So, this is something maybe it's luck's on his side today. He deserves to win this race.
Yeah. This is a bunch of people that could say they deserve to win this race, but there is PT, and he's just had a fantastic record here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. He's been here through his career now. This will be his 15th race on the streets of Surfers Paradise, and always he has been competitive. He has been a dismal year for Paul Tracy, but he's really come on strong this weekend. He wasn't particularly quick in the first session on Friday, but he's come strong since then, and he's looking for a good result here for the Forsyth Championship Racing Team, perhaps to extend his ChampCar career. All sorts of rumours that perhaps he might be thinking about hanging up his helmet, and certainly by the way his season has gone, it wouldn't perhaps be surprising, but no, there's a lot of people trying to persuade PT to stay in the ChampCar World Series, because there's no doubt he is one of this series' great champions and a great personality to go with it, Ryan.
Paul is Mr. ChampCar at this point, and we need him in the series, and I think the fans will be disappointed. Paul's got lots left him to prove, and I don't think there's any need for him to hang up. I think he's still got it. I think he's good to go.
Here's a look at Oriol Servia running in 5th place now, ahead of Justin Wilson. And Justin Wilson, he won that race in Aston, of course, a few weeks ago for the Roosport team and the CDW organisation, car number 9. But Oriol Servia, boy, he's just stepped right into this team. You might remember way back before the first race of the season, the very first test at Sebring, the first time the DP01 cars ran at all in anger, certainly en masse. Oriol Servia had one day at the wheel of the PKV car. He knew he didn't have a full ride for the season, but he was stunningly quick, Ryan, wasn't he?
Sure. I mean, Oriol's been around for a long time, and he's driven the best and the worst cars in the grid. And I think one thing I was just thinking about watching Paul there is that both Forsyth cars and both PKV cars are definitely running the same setups here. Tom Brown, the head engineer at PKV, moved to Forsyth a couple of races ago, and instantly Forsyth were back on the pace, and it's good. It's good competition, but I think it puts a little bit of question mark in Neil Janney's performance this year as far as Serbia coming in and getting a pole in his first day.
That's true, and Johnny, he's been another inconsistent one. Let's listen here on board with Justin Wilson. Look how early he's lifting.
That's saving a lot of fuel there, and Justin will do it in every corner. You'll hear it again here if we stay on board.
And the reason for that is he, along with most of the field, made their first pit stop on lap 10. He knows it's a tall order to get to the end of the race with just one more pit stop. Those guys out at the front, the top three, Robert Dornbos, Paul Tracy and Bruno Junqueira, still not been onto the pit lane for the first time for regular service, and they are stretching out their fuel, and they know they can put the foot down and pretty much go from here, but this man has to save a lot of fuel, and I hope that there are some more full course cautions.
Sure, you actually heard Michael Cannon, I heard him a minute ago on the first lap after the restart telling Robert to go back to his fuel number and hit his fuel number. Again, you can hear here Justin, it's so obvious. You can hear it, if you're on track, you can hear it. It's a big lift, and then you wait a long time for your downshift. It's almost like silence, and as a driver, it's painful to wait that long.
And then you have to just slam on the brakes at the last possible second.
Exactly. It's what we found, and it was hard to learn, especially having nobody in Pacific Coast that had done this before. The more fuel you save, the bigger you get with your brake spike. You wait a longer time and you brake later, but you have a big plateau period where you're just sitting there, and it's almost like you're like counting sheep for a living. It's I hated doing it, put it that way. I prefer just to go.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that more people don't take a chance. There's a look at Will Power. They're squeezing down to the inside of David Martinez. That is at turn 3. That the battle for 13th and 14th places. And the fastest man on the track at the moment would be Oriol Servia at 1 minute 33.9 last time around. Pretty much everybody else in a 1 minute 34 second range, including our race leader Robert Dornbos at 34.4. Now, in fact, Robert Dornbos, you just talked about it, Ryan DL. He was told to go back to his original fuel numbers, and Robert Dornbos responded by setting his best lap in the race thus far, 1 minute 34.484.
Yeah, what that means is he's made his number. He's not going to get another lap, so at that point you have to go. You have to stretch the margin as much as you can. At this rate, it could be a green stop. He's got to go for it. An interesting note, actually, just looking at the times, Will Power is actually running pretty competitive, so I don't think that car's as bad as it could have been. I think if he's got away with it, he's got away with it very fortunately. I
think you might be right. His last lap around for Will Power was 1 minute 34.0. That was including having got past David Martinez on that lap. So Will Power will, we hope, for the crowd's sake here in Queensland, Australia, giving it the charge. He's up to 30. Is that Will? I think it probably is, yeah. That's Catherine Legg and Will Power. That is a disaster. That certainly is the end of Will Power's hopes.
Yeah, that's done. He's done for the day. That's unfortunate. He was definitely, in your home race, it's one of those things. You get so much more pressure on you, and you want to perform for your kind of country. So
there is Derek Walker, the team principal, one of the two team principals for Team Australia. Craig Gore, his co-owner. Unfortunately, Craig had a medical problem actually while he was flying his helicopter earlier in the week. He had a problem with his inner ear, needed surgery. Craig Gore is sitting back in his home here on the Gold Coast, unable to come to the races, so we wish Craig a speedy recovery. There's a replay of what happened between these two, and look, Will Power just got a bit desperate, trying to lunge down the inside. Here he is, he dives to the inside under braking, and that was never going to work.
I'm not going to say until I seen a different replay. I mean, it's one of those things, and Catherine's got to be honest with herself. It's
Will's nothing to do with Catherine Legg. She was well out of the way. She hadn't even turned into the corner, and Will lost it. That's my view of it.
Yeah,
Disagree?
Will's going to win the race, and Catherine's not. And sometimes it's better just to get out of the way.
I think she got right out of the way. I don't think she was anything to do with that. When the car snapped sideways from Will Power, from my perspective, it looked like Will's car snapped sideways and collected Catherine as he was going past.
I mean, I'd like to see it from the front angle and see what happened to cause it to get sideways. Because the car from the back angle, the car goes sideways, but there's a reason it goes sideways.
No, it's pretty bumpy down there in turn 8. It always has been. It's a difficult place to make a pass. You've got to be absolutely alongside someone there. If you're going to make a pass, you've got to make that pass early and make sure the driver knows you're there. And I don't think that was the case there. Look at the reception that Will's going to get, but he will be bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing crashing out in a race, and there's nothing crashing out in front of your home race with 300,000 people there. So, the emotion you threw him just now is it's going to be sickening for him.
So under caution caution for the third time here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. This time because of an incident between Will Power, the local hero, and this gal, Catherine Legg, for Dale.
Left rear is damaged.
Look at the left rear.
She thinks the left rear might be damaged. They're going to have a good look at the rear end.
He hit pretty hard. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was damaged. I think, it just looked like Will's car exploded when he hit her. You know, another thing considered, maybe Will's front right broke. You know, we seen it was damaged. It could have been something. Something turned the car, and it was unusual.
Let's have a look at a look around this Surfers Paradise racetrack. It's 2.795 miles, a very, very fast road course.
Coming in turn one, very tough to brake because it's a right-hand bend. This year they've moved the tyres back so you can take a lot more curb on both sides. Going into turn two, it's a pretty simple corner this. You don't have to take too much curb because you want to get a good exit. And then on the throttle early, a good run down the main front straight. It's tough to brake here, it's off camber, a lot of bumps, very bumpy over the curb on the inside. Then it's a short burst up into third, going to turn four. Another pretty basic corner, just a 90, a lot of camber change during the corner. Got to get on the throttle early because it's important to get out down the back straight.
Well, when you're coming to these S's, turn 5 and 6, you're coming in 7th gear down the back straight along the beach, so it's quite good, and it's a very, very heavy braking zone. Coming out of those S's, you're heading towards the chicane. It's really a very fast corner, and requires lots of courage to go fast through there. Turn 8 is another scary corner. We're in 6th gear, braking for a tight 2nd gear corner, which is another one that is pretty hairy, and then we're heading back towards the last hairpin, which is turn 11 and 12, and it's just about trying to get the power down and then back up the gears and to the straight finish line.
So there it is, the hometown favourite, the hopes of the hometown favourite, Will Power, and on the end of a rope, and that's a very ignominious end to what had been another magnificent performance up to now this weekend. I don't know, he'd been under a little bit of pressure. We saw he had a spin on Friday, but he came back magnificently yesterday to take away that pole position. And watching the on-board of that lap, it really was a great lap that Will Power put together here, a new track record, and it was a magnificent effort, but unfortunately, once again, it's all gone wrong for Will Power. During this full course caution, we had pit stops for the top three, erstwhile top three contenders, Robert Dornbos, Paul Tracy and Bruno Junqueira. And now back to the front of the pack is a familiar sight. It's that number 1 McDonald's car of Sebastian Bourdais. He set the fastest lap of the race so far already, and now he is out in the front of the field. Behind him, we believe, is Oriol Servia. And behind Oriol Servia is going to be Justin Wilson, then Simon Pagenaud, and Graham Rahal now will find himself up inside the top 5. And there's again a replay of that contact in the pit lane during that first round of pit stops, and Will Power, you can see the frustration there as he throws up his hands. He knew it wasn't his fault, it was the fault of his crew. There is the end of Will Power's race. He went lunging down to the inside, and I just think he was going way, way too fast to make that corner. Catherine Legg, to me, was doing absolutely everything right. I think she saw him coming, stayed right out of the way, and Will Power, I believe he'll fess up to that, just to getting a little bit carried away. Yeah, he's so frustrated, and you can certainly understand that, because it just would mean so much to him to get this race win right here in front of an adoring home crowd.
Sure, it's something that I don't think anybody out with this position can understand. I mean, I did some races in Scotland back before I kind of moved up through the ranks, and even in those races, there's so much pressure on you that you put on yourself. It's not so much other people, it's yourself, and that's probably what happened.
The most cautions we've seen here in a single afternoon has been 6. Might have been 6 cautions last year, actually, but certainly I think we're on our 3rd full course caution already, and still just 21 laps in the book, so it's been a bit of a messy race, but it is Sebastian Bourdais who finds himself in the lead once again. And just an amazing record that Sébastien Bourdais has. This is his 72nd Champ Car start. He's already got 29 wins to his credit and 31 poles. Absolutely amazing. Let's have a look at some track facts here in Surfers Paradise. The inaugural event back in 1991. John Andretti won that team for Jim Hall's team, the Pennzoil car as it was then, VDS Racing. Great to see that organisation in the Champ Car World Series back then. It's the longest street course on the schedule at 2.795 miles. And it's also the fastest street course, the new track record set in qualifying yesterday by Will Power. And just remarkably, 16 times we raced here in the past, never has there been a repeat winner. And there's 5 drivers, as we saw at the top of the show, who can set that record straight this afternoon. One of them is in lead right now. That is Sébastien Bourdais. The green is out, and once again a perfect restart for the McDonald's car.
It's not often that Sébastien messes up restarts. He's done a few of them out front, so I got another textbook one there from him.
Absolutely,
which he needs to do. He's been using that power to pass up a fair amount until this point. So it's important for him just to stay out of trouble this race. It's at this point actually. How many cars we have out? We have 2 cars out, 1 more car out, and he wins the championship anyway.
Yeah, that's right. All he needs to do this weekend is get a 14th place finish to wrap it all up and become the first man ever to win 4 championships in a row. There's Alex Tagliani bravely diving down the inside of Graham Rahal.
That was a nice move. That was a textbook move from Tagliani, and it's Graham on cold tyres. That's the time to do it in ChampCar.
That's a veteran's move, isn't it?
That's a veteran on a rookie. That was old school.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Alex Tagliani's had a couple of podium finishes here in the past, as Alex Tagliani, and he's looking to do that once again. Of course, he had a podium here last year, driving for Team Australia.
Sure. I mean, I think the Roost Sport split has got a replay here of Tagliani. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. That's as close as it gets. But it's one of those deals that if Graham had given him any more room, the chances are he probably would have hit the tyres. So it's good to see Alex up there because Roost Sport, the split between our sports, I think it really left the technical side of Tagliani's car kind of by the wayside, and we see Justin week in and week out having success, and Alex isn't. So it's good to see him up there just now.
It certainly is, and that was the move for 5th place now. So Tagliani up into 5th at the expense of Graham Rahal in the Newman House Lanigan racing car. He is his teammate.
40 going fast. We know you can do it. Come on in.
Did you hear what was said there?
I think he was telling him to go fast.
Yeah,
Something like Talladega Nights.
That was Craig Hampson and/or Kenny Seawick. Actually, probably Kenny Seawick on the radio there, a veteran crew member at Newman House Lanigan Racing, telling Sébastien Bourdais, yeah, come on, you can do it. Well, we know Sébastien Bourdais can just do just about anything at the wheel of one of these Champ cars. He'll be leaving, of course, next year for Formula 1, and he'll be hoping that he can turn some of his magic for the Scuderia Toro Rosso team in F1. Fancy that might be a tall order, but I'm sure he will give a good account of himself. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing here on the Gold Coast of Queensland, Australia. He leads by about 1.3 seconds over that man. The PKV racing car of Oriol Servia, turfed out unceremoniously by Forsyth Championship Racing after doing a very good job this season. He stepped in for an injured Paul Tracy at Long Beach, and since then a magnificent run he had in Long Beach. He came from the back of the pack to finish on the podium. Done a good job all season long, but again, commercial considerations there put David Martinez at the wheel of that car number 7 this weekend. PKV Racing picked up Oriol Servia. Of course, PKV and Oriol old friends. He drove for that team last year. He's big buddies with Jimmy Vassar, one of the co-owners of PKV Racing, and Oriol really returning the favour with a magnificent job all weekend long.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't call me for that seat, which I guess I'm not as good a buddy as I need to be. So it's good to see Oriol back in the series. It was good to see him come back in when Paul got injured, and to be honest, it's the ChampCar story. He should have been in from the start of the season. He's a fan favourite, and they need to get away from this driver shuffling stuff. It's not what people want to see every week.
Yeah, and certainly good to see Oriol taking full advantage of this opportunity here. And it's a track on which he adores this racetrack, as do all the drivers. Everybody drives here said it's one of the most fun tracks on the schedule. It's also one of the most fun venues on the schedule. And Oriol is a fan of fun and driving, and he's He's got the only pole position of his career came right here a couple of years ago when he was driving for Newman Haas Racing, stepping in when Bruno Junqueiro had been injured at Indianapolis, and he had a magnificent season for the Newman Haas team. Did Oriol Servia, came from nowhere in the championship to finish in second place behind Sebastian Bourdais. Since then it's been kind of musical chairs, just hoping that he can get a ride somewhere, and Oriol is doing a great job this weekend. And here we are on board now with Graham Rahal, and he's been passed by Alex Tagliani, but he wants back past, doesn't he?
You know, it's at this point now the tyres up to temp, it's obvious that Graham's way faster than Tag. Tag just sold him the dummy on cold tyres, and like that's where experience takes over. These cars are monsters on hot tyres, and when they're on cold tyres and street courses like this, it's almost pretty terrifying at times. So you know what, Graham's just keeping his nose clean. He'll still end up there at the end of this race.
On board now there briefly with Simon Pagenaud running in fourth place. Sebastian Bourdais, meanwhile, I should tell you, has just reset the fastest lap of the race down into the low 133s, 133.3 last time around. He flashes across the line one more time and quicker again, 133.1 that time for Sebastian Bourdais. Justin Wilson in third place turns at 133.4, and Oriol Servia in second place turns at 133.8 on board here with Nelson Philippe. He by contrast at a 1 minute 35.0, so the pace is being up now as we're getting down midway through the race.
Sebastian's got 10 laps difference between him and the other guys in his fuel window, and if this race is looking pretty clean at this point, he needs to go. He can't be saving fuel anymore. At this point he needs to go. Oh, we got Spinner, we got Nelson just clipped Graham.
There's Graham Rahal that turned around. Yeah, that was a battle for 6 and 7.
It's not a good place. Not a good place.
So he's kept the engine running as Graham Rahal. Can he get back going again?
Clear now.
Yeah, you know, it looks like it gave him room initially. It looked like Nelson was gonna pull back, but I'm sure we're gonna see a replay of that.
Hey guys, we got a left rear going down, guys. Broken wheel.
Yeah. That's TZ John Tuzanikis, who's the team manager for Newman Haas Landing. Let's have a look again at what happened here on board with Graham Rahal.
Yeah, it was, you know, Graham, I don't know, from that angle it's hard to tell, but it looked like Nelson started to back off, but I don't know. It's similar to what you said with the Catherine issue. It's one of those places, do you want to overtake there and risk having something like that happen? And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it looked, didn't it, like as you say that, I think it looked as if Nelson was trying to get out of it, and it was too late to do that.
It looked like Nelson was going to go and he was going to commit, and then he realized that Graham wasn't ready to commit. And honestly, these cars are really hard to see. They're a lot harder to see out of than the other cars. And especially when you're going to, you know, a brake zone that's kinking, it's impossible to see somebody who's got a run on you. And you know, that's just one of those things that.
Yeah, and it's awfully tough, isn't it, for Nelson Philippe? But he hasn't raced all year long, and you know it's tough to make decisions in split seconds, particularly when you're not doing it regularly.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I don't care how many races you've done, you're always rusty if you sit a few out, and you know, he's sat almost a year out at this point, and. You know, I wouldn't blame it completely on Nelson. He's definitely not a dirty driver, and it looked like he did try and get out of it. Unfortunately, just the way the wheels hit. And, you know, Graham was so far around the corner, he was already on the power. That's the problem. He started getting on the power, got clipped, and he just spun it.
He did indeed. And here's a battle now for second and third. And this is heating up somewhat. The fastest lap of the race last time around was set not by our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, instead by Oriol Servia. Bill Stevens is in the Newman Haas Landing Racing pit for Graham Rahal.
It has not been a great day for this team. As we mentioned in practice earlier today, he spun early and had to basically sit through the entire practice session. They are inspecting the car. It doesn't appear as if there's any damage other than just replacing the tire. Oh, they're putting the car back up again now. But at this point, it doesn't appear as if the car sustained any damage.
Well, there was a broken rear wheel on that car. Let's see, I think the steering wheel seems to offset someone.
I don't know. It looks like it's down to the right. I don't know if that's a toe link in the rear or something, but I mean, it's almost impossible for teams to get straight. He knows himself. I think something's not right there.
He's just letting Sebastian Bourdais go through. I think he's already a lap down now. Is Graham Rahal? He did not go green. We're still under green, I should say. And Sebastian Bourdais leads by a couple of seconds over Oriol Servia and Justin Wilson. There goes Oriol Servia diving down to the inside in turn 3. And where is Justin Wilson? He's got to be right behind Graham Rahal.
I don't know if Graham made that as easy for Oriol as he did for Sebastian. Sebastian, but that's what teams are for.
I guess so. I don't know. In this ChampCar World Series, generally it's up to the drivers. There is less teamwork, as they call it, than you see certainly in many other forms of racing. But is Oriol Servia now in second place, trying to track down Sebastian Bourdais, who leads in Surfers Paradise. So lap 27.
3:16.
And there is Oriol Servia crashing over the curbs in second place. Oriol Servia chasing after Sebastian Bourdais. The gap from first to second, 2.4 seconds last time around. And a new fastest lap set then by Justin Wilson in third place. 1:32.5 for Justin Wilson. That compares to 1:32.7 for Oriol Servia. Here on board with Justin Wilson as he gets past Graham Rahal. A replay of what happened on the previous lap. Graham Rahal, of course, just come out of the pits. There is Oriol Servia squeezing down the inside and braking. Wow, just tried to take the line there into turn 3.
The lap times the top three are running is unbelievable. I mean, the top three guys are running consistently a second to a second and a half quicker than anybody right now. I think all three of them, they know the fuel situation and they've got everything. They've got everything they're going for right now.
Yeah, I fancy they know they've got to make 2 pit stops to get to the end of this race, so they might as well just put a hammer down and go for it.
Dead forward. Good job. You're doing good.
Yeah, at this point, those three guys, they can't risk sitting back and keeping that gap. They need to open that gap up as big as possible.
Yeah, they do. They're turning very quick. Let's just have a look at the graphic here of races since the last win for the different teams. Rooseport, of course, won last time out in Assen. Newman Haslanigan, well, they win all the time. Minardi Team USA, their last win was in San Jose. Team Australia, it's been 5 races since they last won. That record is not going to change, I think, this afternoon. Forsyth, 7 races since their last win. And look at that, though. PKV, 35 races since their last win. That was at Portland 3 years ago. Yeah, that's exactly right. And 45 races since Rocket Sports won. That was Alex Tagliani at Road America back in 2003. Now PKV, can Oriol Servia get their bucket in that win column?
It's amazing a team of PKV standing when you see a number like that compared to others. It's you almost want to double check your numbers, but I remember that win with Cristiano. It was a big win for the team and they needed that point. But even then, you know, it was almost a lucky win. It was a strange day. So PKV have been strong. They just kind of haven't got that last bit on these other teams.
They haven't, but they've certainly got a strong... They've had several good runs this year, of course. Tristan Gomedy, you'll remember, put the car on the pole position at Mont-Tremblant. That was a magnificent effort. Yeah. Unfortunately, all went wrong at the start. And now Oriol Servia doing sterling work in that pay-by-touch car number 22.
Exactly. I mean, Tristan's... I think Tristan's... Well, to be honest, I think everybody in the group was kind of happy for him. It came out of nowhere, and it was at a time where some of the certain cars were just dominating things, and you know, it was nice to see a difference up there. It was unfortunate that the car had an electrical problem, but you know, PKV have shown real promise this year. I think having the 2 rookies in the cars didn't maybe show exactly what they had, and I think now we're maybe seeing what they have.
Let's look at Paul Tracy, running in now 7th place. So it's Bourdais who leads from Servia, Wilson, Pagenaud, Tagliani in 5th place, and Nelson Philippe doing a great job for Conquest Racing. Then is Paul Tracy in 7th, followed by David Martinez in the 2nd of the Forsyth cars. There is Nelson Philippe in the foreground. Here is PT, and a black flag. We're hearing a loose rear wing for car number 28. That's Mario Dominguez in one of the Pacific Coast Motorsports cars, and of course the car that Ryan Diel, who's alongside me right now, kind of should have been driving, we all believe here, because we're a little bit biased, including the man alongside me, so I wouldn't even ask him to comment on that. But let's have a look now at the history that Paul Tracy has here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. This is his 15th time here. He's had 1 pole position, 13 times he has qualified in the top 5. He also had a 6th on the grid and a 9th on the grid, 4 top 4 finishes, and he is one of 5 drivers in the field today who has a previous victory right here on these streets. That was in 1995 when he had that 1 year with the Newman House Racing team.
Don't you just love these helmet cams? It's one thing in my career, I've always watched these and I've always been jealous of these guys that get the helmet cams and the special cams. They just calling them this lap.
So that is certainly a fabulous view there of Nelson Philippe. He's certainly doing an excellent job in the race this afternoon. He fancied he might go a bit better in the race than he did in qualifying. He set the 6th fastest lap of the race so far this afternoon, and really building on the fabulous work that Jan Halen did at the wheel of his car number 34 over the last 4 or 5 races, just getting better and better and better. And the race engineer for this team is Don Bricker, young guy, doesn't have an awful lot of experience. He started off though in Indy Lights with the Tasman Motorsports team, and they've really done an excellent job. And Nelson Philippe is just carrying on one step forward.
I mean, this is as good as you're going to get as a person at home watching TV here. This is what ChampCar is. It doesn't quite show how violent these bumps are. I mean, remember your neck's a shock absorber, and it's still that bumpy. So you can only imagine, what your spine feels like at this point. But Conquest have been a really impressive team. I think it's one of those teams that you want to see them do well. And Eric Batchelor puts a great program together, and he always finds a way to have a good engineer and a good car.
Yes, he does indeed. He doesn't have a particularly big budget, but he makes the most of what he does. The team manager there is Chris Mower, and Chris did a fabulous job. You might remember the Nordic racing team in Formula 3000. It was with them that Justin Wilson won the F3000 championship, and here now is Nelson Philippe coming onto pit lane for Eric Bachelor's Conquest racing team. And Nelson is just doing an excellent job this afternoon. Sebastian Bourdais, I should say, has just reset the fastest lap, but here comes a scheduled pit stop for Nelson Philippe. Also there on the pit lane is Alex Tagliani.
The guys that are stopping just now all stopped at the same time. These are all the first runners of stops here, so you're going to see who's getting what fuel mileage here. Obviously these guys, they showed their cards first. It'll be interesting to see how much longer Sebastian and Servi and Wilson can go at this point.
Yeah, I fancy on a track there's almost 3 miles around, they're only going to be able to do maybe one or very most 2 laps more.
You can see Justin's guys were already set up in front of Nelson there, so 1 lap's huge though. 1 lap sounds like nothing, but it's a big deal when you're on cold tires with full tanks. You see how slow Nelson has to creep around when he comes out like that.
And here is Sebastian Bourdais. This is lap 31 in the books. He's trying now to, he'd love, I'm sure, to eke out 1 more lap for Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. His number 1 McDonald's car comes around that turn 11 hairpin 1 more time. We're going to see whether he will duck onto pit lane. He's got a lead of about 3.5 seconds. Yeah, he's pulling over to the left-hand side of the racetrack onto pit lane.
As you leave, no changes, right on the marks. Brian, you know what to do.
It's great to hear that radio communication from Kenny Seawick. His Bill Stevens is right there.
Sebastian is telling his crew that he likes the way the car is handling. And keep this in mind, he was fastest in the practice this morning. It's the only time all weekend he's been the number 1 driver on the sheet.
That's an excellent pit stop by Newman Haas Lanigan Racing.
It's not often they make mistakes. Great stop from Wilson's guys as well. They almost came in and went back out exactly how they were.
I think Royal Serbia stayed out. I don't think he came in this time around. So
he did 1 more.
Here is. That's Paul Tracy, isn't it? Right ahead of Justin Wilson. PT on a different pit strategy, of course, than Justin Wilson.
That's big numbers for, Pageant will say that too. That's big numbers from those guys to get 1 lap on Justin Wilson and Bourdais. That's usually your benchmark. If you can equal them, then you're doing okay.
Yeah, that's right. You're right, absolutely right, Randy. Yeah, it's very rare for somebody to beat Sebastian Bourdais and or Team Australia on fuel mileage.
Especially the pace that Oriol was running. You can understand from Justin maybe sitting back there in the draft, but Oriol was putting in some fast lap times there, so maybe they saved more early on.
And he's just turned a faster lap as well. Last time around, a new fastest lap of the race for Oriol Serbia, a 1:31.425, and that is comfortably a new race lap record. Previously, it was set by Sebastian Bourdais, a 1:32.0. That was 2 years ago in the Lola in 2005. So already 6/10 quicker, 1:31.4 for Oriol Serbia. That is excellent going.
I wish I'd made a wager with you. I think I said the race pace was going to be in the 31s.
I think you did. I thought it was going to be in the 32s. I think, we knew it was going to be a pretty good chance of setting a new track record. There is Oriol Serbia, BKV Racing onto pit lane. This is scheduled service for the car number 22, the paid by touch car.
Red tires.
Yep, red tires going on. As ever, it's a long pit stop there.
That's a lot of fuel going in. Red tires, he's going to get them on and off at this point.
Well, the interesting thing is, we see Simon Pagenaud also onto pit lane. We reckon they're both going to have to make 2 pit stops, but do you make 1 long pit stop and 1 short one? Do you make 2 short, 1 short one and 1 longer one? How do you play that strategy?
It really depends. Serbia's crew should have watched what Bourdais did and timed their fuel on what they think he did. If he did a full tank, they do a full tank. That's really strange why he didn't beat him out there. That's, he must have got traffic or something, because he should one extra lap at that pace. He should have beat him out.
Yeah, I fancy what they should have done there is short fuel Oriol Servia, make sure he got out ahead of Sebastian Bourdais, then put the hammer down, take some far laps, pull away, then make that final pit stop. He's clearly got a very fast car. I don't think that that PKV Racing got that strategy right.
Yeah, maybe Bourdais short filled a little bit.
Right.
You know, they might be going for a couple laps of yellow short film just to make sure. You know, they probably suspected that he was going to stay out a little longer. They probably had to pit for fuel, and they gambled a little bit.
Yeah, and it could work out the other way. You know, if it certainly looked like a very quick stop for Newman House Landing and Racing. Unfortunately, I didn't get a time on it. Unfortunately,
you know, also
I really should have done that. Where's the stopwatch?
They can gamble at this point. They don't have to win the race. They're comfortably up front. They can gamble for a race win. That's what Grey Hampton's been good over the years about, going for race wins when they can, and they'll throw everything at it at this point.
Yeah, and now of course, you know, just the boots perhaps now on the other foot. The good news for Oriol Servia is that he is ahead of Paul Tracy, because PT there right ahead of Justin Wilson is in this fight. He's on a different strategy, but he's very much in the fight for the win here. Here comes PT onto pit lane. So scheduled pit stop there for Paul Tracy. His last pit stop was on lap.
That may have been Martinez.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was Martinez at pits.
Your foot on the brake.
It's hard to tell. Their helmets are both dark from a distance.
Yeah, because Paul's leading the race, of course. Paul is leading the race.
Watch John. Way to go. Okay, out into the fast lane.
There goes David Martinez, who was in top 7 before making that pit stop. There goes the young Mexican driver, and certainly he's loving being back at the wheel of a ChampCar. He's been wanting to do it ever since making a very impressive debut, it has to be said, in Mexico City last year. He both started and finished among the top 10 on a track that he knows very well in Mexico City, but still, it was an excellent effort by David Martinez, and he has a 100% finishing record among the top 10, which not many drivers can say, coming into this race, and he'll be looking to extend that streak right here at Surface Paradise. But in the meantime, it's the second of the Forsyth Championship racing cars. Here it is, car number 3, Paul Tracy. He leads, and that is the gap between first and second. Right behind him there, looming in his mirrors, is Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, Paul just doesn't seem to have the car. I mean, Paul's fastest lap is 2.2 seconds off of Bourdais at this point. That's a pretty incredible
You did a great job.
difference.
Use the fuel you need to keep Sebastian behind you. Okay?
And that's the
whatever
point.
fuel you need to keep Sebastian behind you, but no more.
And that's the point right there from the radio of Paul Tracy.
That's exactly it. They're just telling him, run the pace you need to run, hit your fuel number, and do what you have to do to keep him behind. What he'll do in those instances is back Sebastian up into places that Sebastian can't overtake, and get good runs out of the straights where he knows that Sebastian has opportunities.
And there's the Catherine Leggs car being pushed away, so it's Paul Tracy who leads with 35 laps in the books and about half, 40 So 40 minutes to go here in Australia. Paul Tracy leads for Forsyth Championship Racing. We haven't said that too often this season, just once, a couple of times I guess, but only once for good. That was in Cleveland when he came from the back of the pack. He had a disastrous first lap in Cleveland. I think in the first 10 laps of the race, he was on his 3rd nose cone of the day, and he came back to win the race. This afternoon, he was involved in a spin on the first lap. Again, was back in last place, and here he is now in the lead of the motor race.
You know, Paul never ever needs the fastest car to win a race. He just needs to be out front, and fortunately they've got him there. I honestly, at this point, if one of the, Tracy, if Bourdais, Servia, or Wilson don't win this race, then something's weird, because I can't honestly go over the pace that those guys were running. Nobody's anywhere near close to them at this point.
No, but again, strategy there. I think PT knows he has to save a little bit of fuel. He really needs to stay out on the track about another 10 or 12 minutes before he comes onto the pit lane. You can see there the graphic on the top of the screen. We're on lap 35, lap 36 completed now. 38 minutes to go in this race. Generally speaking, you can run about a half an hour on a full tank of fuel, so he needs to stay out there another 8 minutes before he comes onto pit lane. So he's having right now to stretch his fuel load, Ryan.
I just don't think he can do it. He pitted 60.
There's Oriol Servia.
Oriol Servia spun.
He and Justin Wilson were battling over 3rd and 4th places, and it is now Justin Wilson that takes that position away as Oriol goes spinning. Justin Wilson now up into 3rd place, but it's Paul Tracy who leads. So So more drama here at Surface Paradise. A spin for Oriol Servia.
I think it's a suspension issue.
Yeah, they think it's a suspension issue.
There's something broke on the left rear of the car. So it looks like a drive shaft or a lower wishbone arm.
Tire has air, Oriol. Tire has air. Be careful.
You see the red markings have been rubbed off that left rear wheel on that car. So clearly some.
He must have clipped the wall. Broke something and then spun.
He knows it. He just shortcut the circuit there. He's just bringing it back to the pits.
Moving around. You got something loose back there, so be careful. Use the chicane straight.
That's Vassar on the radio just telling him that obviously it's a lot easier for the crew to see what we're seeing here. And I don't know, by the markings on the tire being off, that red paint is just put on there to tell the alternate tires, the softer tires from Bridgestone, and clearly something's broken.
Clearly there's damage on that left rear wheel of the car. There is Jimmy Vassar, one of the co-owners of PKV Racing, and what a shame for Oriol. I mean, he's been so fast all weekend. Clearly that left rear suspension is broken. That's going to be the end of his day.
Yeah, I mean, at this point he wants to just try and get in without ripping something off it. It's we'll see the replay. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt until we see the replay, but clearly their day is done.
Yeah, Jimmy Vassar, you can see the disappointment written over his face. He was looking to set that record straight. 35 races since PKV was last in victory lane. And I don't think it's going to happen this afternoon. Neil Jarney, the second of the PKV cars, the Red Bull car, running back in 11th place. Probably make that 10th after Oriol comes onto the pit lane. So certainly it's a pretty average run, I think it has to be said, for Neil Jarney. And here comes Oriol Servia. They'll change the tyres and probably put in fuel as well. Then they were going to have a look at that rear suspension. But I think it's going to be a long stop.
Yeah, I just there's too much done there. The car's off.
Yeah, turn the engine off and they'll have a look around maybe. But looks like a toe link, they're saying there.
Yeah,
like look at this battle here. Paul Tracy and Sebastian Bourdais. And look at this, Justin Wilson is right with him. Justin's got past Oriol Servia. We didn't see what happened to Oriol, but look at this, Justin is on the move.
Paul's just holding everybody up at this point. It's I don't think Sebastian or Justin are running super fast. I just think that Paul's doing what he needs to do, hold him back.
He's just done his best lap actually, has PT. 133.4 as he comes across. Oh, look at this. Justin Wilson looks at the inside down at turn one. He's surely got the pass made. Great move by Justin Wilson. And Sebastian Bourdais has to lift off and leave him the line.
Sebastian, a lot of people are thinking Sebastian was trying to play with him there, but that's clearly, he knew the corner was done. What's the point of turning in, trying to hit each other? Sebastian did the right thing, just let him have the corner. He didn't accelerate, and that's it. But Justin looks like he's flying here, and he's aggressive. He needs to win this race.
He does indeed. He wants to keep his championship aspirations alive. It's a slim shot, and all Sebastian Bourdais needs to do is finish in the top 14, and it's looking like he will do that in any case. Catherine Legg is out of the race, Will Power is out of the race, and Dan Clark is out of the race. That would mean even if Sebastian goes out right now, and it looks like Oriol is also out of the race, so worst case scenario for Sebastian Bourdais is a 13th place finish is what it looked like, but still Justin Wilson doesn't need to know that. He wants to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Sebastian, honestly, he's a little disappointed he's not going to go for it. I think he knows that he's won the championship right now, and he should be getting in the mix. I think Justin's got the car just now. I think Paul's struggling. I think Justin's going to be the aggressive one, and he's always been good.
There's a replay, that thing in turn one there. You can see that Sebastian Bourdais just lifted off. He knew that Justin Wilson had the line. I think he used the Cosworth power to pass going down that front straightaway. He's got the move, the inside line, and there Bourdais has to lift off and allow easy passage for Justin Wilson.
Exactly, they were both on the power to pass, and it was interesting how easy it was, to be honest, for
Textbook
Justin.
move though, wasn't it?
It was perfect. I mean, like I say, I think I don't know if Paul can save enough fuel here. This is he's on 19 laps on this now.
Yeah, he's got to be on the pit lane in another lap or two, but time is ticking on now, and we're showing about 33 minutes to go in this race, so it's going to be touch and go for PT to get to the end of this race. Of course, he is going to need a full tank of fuel. The other guys are only going to need a partial load.
And the other thing, Roospo will be reminding Justin, the bigger gap he can open out on Paul is going to help this, because he's going to have to take on more fuel than Paul, and honestly, sitting behind him just now isn't what they need. They'll be telling him to push, they'll be telling him to pass him and get the hammer down here.
Well, Justin Wilson, when he comes in for his last time, he's going to need less fuel than PT. As PT needs a full load, so he's certainly going to be on the pit lane for longer than both these two guys behind him. So really for Justin now, he just needs to sit there, doesn't he? Because he knows when the pit stops are in sequence, he will pick up ground. There's a look at Oriol Servie there spinning around.
It's gonna, if he clipped something, he maybe clipped that inside left wall on the exit, because he definitely, something clipped him as spinning that late in the corner, because you know, like I say, you can tell from the tire mark on the red walls.
Yeah, clear some contact there. He rubbed off the red striped tires once again. That bridge zone, of course, there is Paul Tracy coming onto pit lane.
He's got an open pit in, open pit out. It's going to be a full fill, so it's going to take a little while.
That's Neil Mickelrad on the radio. Bill Stevens is right there.
Stop. Remember what happened in Cleveland? Paul had such a dismal start and came back to win the race. Could he do it again here in Surfers Paradise? 4 tires, full load of fuel, no changes to the car whatsoever. They're putting every drop they can in the car, and he's finally away.
That was a great stop.
Yeah, and great coaching there from Neil Rickard, the VP of Operations for the Forsyth Championship Racing Team, just keeping his driver calm. He knew that Paul Tracy, he's antsy to get going again, but he had to tell PT, hey, throttle back, it's going to be a full stop, you've just got to bide your time and be patient. You know,
and Paul's done this long enough. He knows what's going on. He knows that this is the right thing, and he knows if he keeps his nose clean, he's going to be with those 3 at the end. So you know, Forsyth are one of the best in the business when you just listen to them and how professional and how good they keep Paul under control. Keep him on a leash most of the time, I think, which is, I think that's I think they should get an award just for keeping him under control at times.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of tasks on pit lane. It's one that certainly Neil Mickelride enjoys. Here is, again, a replay of Will Power and that incident with David Martinez earlier in the race, and that ultimately led to the demise of Will Power. He was forced back into the pack, and there as he lunges down to the inside of Catherine Legg, going down into turn 8, and contact between the two, and that is the end of Will Power's day. So he'd been the man to beat very much this weekend. Started from the pole, led the early stages, but once again it's not to be for Will Power on the streets of Surfers Paradise.
You know, I just don't understand why he didn't go more to the left. Yeah. You know, he definitely could have shortened the distance to the corner. A lot of the time, you know, the reason people take the inside line is the shorter way to overtake somebody. So
I think he just got in a little bit too hot. Here's Robert Dornbos on for his scheduled final pit stop. He's running in 5th place, a couple of places behind Bruno Junqueira, who's also on pit lane right now for Dale Coyne Racing. These two running the same strategy as Paul Tracy, but able to go 1 lap farther.
Exactly.
There is Bruno Junqueira for Dale Coyne Racing. Looks like a good stop for those guys as well. Can he beat out Robert Dornbos? Yes, he can. Just good whip pit work there from Dale Coyne Racing. They're going to come out on the track right behind Nelson Philippe. I think Nelson will now be up into 6th. I think these two will be 7th and 8th for Bruno Junqueira and Robert Dornbos. They, though, are, I reckon, done with service for the afternoon. Most of the guys in front of them are going to have to come onto the pit lane one more time. Is he looking good for Bruno Junqueira?
You know, I was just thinking, under 29 minutes just almost to go in this race. It's going to be really interesting how this is going to turn out. It's if this stays green, there's a lot of guys that are going to unexpectedly end up at the front here.
Yeah, we've got 9 minutes to go in this race. Certainly, I think these guys are making pit stops now within the last couple of minutes to get to the end of the race. No problem. There is Nelson Philippe, and again, hats off to this youngster in the he's just 21 years of age, which is hard to believe. Oh, look at this run that Simon Pagenaud gets there. A great run on that was PT, wasn't it? Yeah, run on Paul Tracy for 5th place. Excellent pass by Simon Pagenaud. That's how to make a pass in turn 8. Bill Stevens is with Will Power out of the race after another great performance in front of his hometown crowd.
With Will Power, you can see they're icing up his left hand. Will, first of all, tell us about what's going on there.
When I had the incident with Catherine, I think I did something to my hand. It's a bit sore. So just ice it and see what happens.
What is it about this race right here at home?
I don't know. It was a very basic mistake in the pit stop that cost us this race. Very basic, and we can't do anything about it. And
tell us about the incident that finally put you out.
I got a real good run on Catherine. I was surprised. I thought she saw me in the mirrors, and she just made it tough, braked really late, and so did I. And I locked up, and somehow it came together, and that was the end of it.
We hope things go better for you next year. Thanks.
Thanks, mate.
Shame for Will Power, and also pretty much ended the race for Catherine Legg as well. I still reckon she was doing all she could possibly do to keep to the left of the racetrack. It's a fair point, though, that maybe she did leave her braking awfully late, and that effectively goaded Will Power into braking later than he really had to on that inside line.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those tough ones. Obviously, Catherine's running her race, and I spent most of the year running around to the back with her, so I understand what she's trying to do, but it's just one of those things. If the guy's coming through and you see that he's had a problem, it's gone behind you, then, you know, we had a similar incident in Mont-Tremblant this year when Sebastian went off and he came back onto the back of the grid, and honestly, you know, through the first 3 or 4 guys, it's almost why worth fighting with them. You know, if they're running 2 seconds a lap quicker than you, it's one of those things. Maybe you should just make it a little easier. At the end of the day, you know, both cars retired, and maybe that couldn't have been avoided. So it could have been avoided.
No, I'm still going to say Catherine's defence on that one. I still think she just came right out of the way, and Will just lost it under the braking there. But whatever the outcome, whatever the cause, the outcome is to say both guys out of the race. There was on board there, or a good look, I should say, at Graham Rahal. Graham now way back in 12th place. It's Justin Wilson who leads with just over 20 minutes remaining. And there is our race leader, Justin Wilson. He makes his final pit stop of the day for the CDW car, the Rousport organisation. Looked like excellent pit work there by that team. And Justin Wilson comes out in clear track. We'll see how the strategies work out now. And Sebastian Bourdais clearly stayed out a little bit longer than did Justin Wilson. I think it's good strategy now. You might as well bring your guy in earlier. As we know in the ChampCar World Series, if there's a full course caution, the pits are closed until the entire pack is pulled up behind the pace car. As we look at the championship points coming into this weekend, you can see a clear lead there, 58-point advantage for Sebastian Bourdais. All he really needed to do was finish. It looks like Sebastian will clinch that championship this weekend, but Justin Wilson, he's still battling with Robert Dormos and Will Power for second in the standings. Justin vaulted from 4th to 2nd by virtue of that win at Assen a few weeks ago, and now he's hopeful of grabbing another victory here. I think that's good strategy to bring Justin in early right now, because if there is a full course caution, he knows that Sebastian Bourdais is first of all going to have to pack up behind the pace car, and only then will he be able to make that pit stop. So good strategy from the Rousport organisation.
You know, there's been a few times, even in the past few years, that Rousport have tried to be too smart, and they've tried to leave their guys out, and they tried to run the thing at the edge. And at this point, with Justin kind of dominating this race, I think, in my opinion, I think Bourdais is settling a little bit behind Wilson, and he's going to just see how this pans out towards the end. But it's a safe call they made. That's my opinion. I think they made a safe call that they don't get the yellow when you talk about late.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Sebastian is turning a very hot pace at the front. His lap that last time around was a 31.621. He has the fastest lap of the race to his credit, a 131.3, so just 3/10 slower last time around than his best lap of the race, as we see Alex Tagliani onto pit lane for the Rocket Sports organisation. And while Sebastian Bourdais is turning 131, everybody else, the best anybody else is doing, is a 133 point nothing for Alex Figge, actually. Everybody else in the 34s.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah, you know, I think Bourdais obviously saw Justin come in, so Bourdais probably been hammered in just now. Just got to see what he's got. You know, Bourdais is always good at maximising in laps and out laps, and I think he's probably just going to figure out, well, you know, if I've got something for him, I'll get back in front of him and we'll take it to the end.
That's exactly right now, because he's out on hot tyres with Sebastian Bourdais, so he's able to turn some quicker laps. So it's going to take a lap or two to get Justin Wilson's fresher tyres back up to temperature. So certainly advantage right now would be with Bourdais, but he knows he's got to turn some very quick laps in order to leapfrog Justin Wilson by the time he makes his final pit stop, which we expect in, well, I'm not quite sure because we don't quite know. Here he is, though. Sebastian Bourdais is getting frustrated. He is right behind Mario Dominguez, I think that is. Is that Mario?
It is Mario.
Yeah. So that is very frustrating for Sebastian Bourdais. You could see him waving his hands in the cockpit. He wants past, and Mario is not keen to give him any ground at all.
Well, the good news is that wasn't me making a mess of that, so I would have let him pass and been a gentleman, but...
So there goes Sebastian Bourdais. He does make that pass now, and he's trying with Mario Dominguez makes another mistake. He's running now in 13th place. He's a full lap behind everybody else, and certainly he could have made things a lot easier there, and no doubt should have done so for this man, Sebastian Bourdais. But now Bourdais is absolutely hammering over those curbs. That very, very quick chicane, and he knows now the pressure is on him. He knows that Justin Wilson already has made his final pit stop, so now Sebastian needs to put the hammer down, turn a series of quick laps before he makes his final pit stop. And look, he's on the black sidewall tyres, the slightly harder compound, and he's still turning in a 1:31s. So he is really, he's been struggling this weekend, but he's going very quickly right now. Here he comes now.
I think that was, he's going to go again. I think, looking at the track feed here, Sebastian has a lot of traffic coming ahead, and I think that was why Wilson came in. Exactly what just happened. That could cost the race for Sebastian getting held up by Mario there.
Pit, I think that was from Kenny Seawick there over the radio to Sebastian Bourdais. Maybe he wasn't supposed to come in that time around. I presume he wasn't, but it was as he was going past the pit lane, and that, of course, is the best time to make a call to a driver, because with the radio communication being particularly difficult on a street circuit when you've got these high-rise buildings all around, when you get a clear line of sight from the radio antenna on the pit lane to the driver in the car as he's going past the pits, that is the best time to make that call. That is what Kenny Seawick has done, and we will see this car number 1 on pit lane next time around.
These radios seem so much clearer when we hear them on these things. Like it doesn't seem that clear when you've got a Cosworth strapped to your back.
There's a mistake from Sebastian Bourdais. Left his braking a little bit too late there at the end of the Esplanade. He jumps all the way over the curbs.
That really didn't cost him any time. He'll be okay with that. And I don't know. This is going to be interesting. I think Justin's going to come out ahead of him here.
It's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The gap between the two as they came across the line last time was just 34 seconds it was shown. Actually, I don't know. My scoring vaulted from 26 to 34. I don't know why that was. But let's have a look again at the replay here as he just locks up a little bit that left front brake going into the Bartercard chicane. And you're right, it really won't have cost him too much time, but you don't want to make too many errors like that.
Yeah, he's okay with that. He's coming in.
Solid stop here, car 1 crew. There's somebody right on the mark 7.
This is where Newman Haas are at their best, though. This is there's going to be no faults here.
Bill Stevens is in the Newman Haas Racing Lanigan pit for Bourdais' final pit stop of the day.
Sebastian is in. They're making a tire pressure adjustment to cut down on the understeer on the car. That may be the reason why he just botched that chicane a few moments ago. The tires are on. They're filling the car with fuel, and he's out. Can he preserve the lead?
Yeah, and he's on the black sidewall tires. That's an interesting call, Randy L.
Yeah, well, most of the time, I think he's way ahead of him. Way ahead, not even close.
Yeah, not even close.
The black tires are always the best 90% of the time towards the end of a street course race, and that's why you saw a lot of them. They have to use the alternate tire at least 1 lap under green in a race situation. That's why you see a lot of them run the red tire on the second stint. First stop, red tires. It gives you time to get them on, get them off, and then regain any positions that you may have lost or time you lost by using them. The red tire is faster, but only for a certain amount of time.
That's right, and here is Justin Wilson, and he's going to try as hard as he can, but that's a pretty big deficit that he's got to make up. We'll have to wait until they come across the timing line. Well, they can see the gap.
See, now we question Bruceport. We question Nick, because that's a huge gap. There's no way Justin should be 6, 7, 8 seconds behind like that. That's a difficult one. That's a strange one. I don't know why they called him in that much earlier.
I think they were just maybe gambling on the fact that there might have been a full course caution in the late stages, but there's certainly, I think, a less propensity for a full course caution in the later stages of the race than in the earlier stages. So, it's a strategic course decision that was made in the brain trust of the Bruceport team. Looks like it wouldn't be paying off. There's Mario Dominguez making a pit stop. He's already 1 lap down, as is Graham Rahal. I don't know why Rahal is so far back. He's had a very disappointing day as Mario Dominguez gets underway.
Yeah, Rahal had that earlier spin and knocked a tire down as well with Philippe. I think he lost the lap in the pits. It stayed green under that, so...
Yeah, of course he did. Thank you for reminding me. In actual fact, Graham has set the 4th best lap of the race, a 1:32.2. The fastest lap by this man, Sebastian Bourdais. There's Graham Rahal in the wheel tracks of his teammate Sebastian Bourdais. He'll learn something here, Ryan.
Yeah, it's you would say it's easier for somebody like Graham to have a teammate like Sebastian, but it must be hell for him. You know, every weekend Sebastian's first, second, or third, and Graham had some big. He's got to make some big shoes to fill next year when Sebastian goes to F1, and likewise, I think Sebastian's got a bit of a challenge on his hand with Vettel in F1 next year. I think it's going to be interesting, you know, old school and young kid situation.
He graduated from high school just a few months ago, did Graham Rahal, and he's going to get a lesson here from the master.
He is. He's had a few lessons this year, I think, from the master.
What can he learn now, though, from following in the later stages of this race?
I think, honestly, Graham just needs to learn how to put the lap down when he needs to. I think everybody knows he has the speed, and you know, he definitely, in my opinion, I think Newman Haas do have a number one, number two role. I don't think that, looking back over the years of Sebastian's teammates, or even, you know, back to the days of Cristiano or you know, likewise others, that there's ever two cars that are very, very close. That's a little bit of my opinion. It doesn't seem like, you know, I heard rumors that they're going to move Graham over to Sebastian's crew. You would keep Graham with his own crew if you thought it was the number one crew.
Yeah, quite possibly. Here is Robert Dornbos, who's shown now in 5th place. Let's reset the order right now for you. Sebastian Bourdais is in the lead of the race, a comfortable lead, about 5.5 seconds clear of Justin Wilson. Paul Tracy showing a distant 3rd place now, 25 seconds behind the leader, in a gap of another 5 seconds back to Bruno Junqueira. Another brilliant run for Dale Coyne Racing. And then this man, Robert Dornbos, is in 5th ahead of David Martinez, who's done a stellar job for Forsyth Championship Racing.
He's just kept his nose clean. He's kept his nose clean. He's just he's worked through. You know, he had a problem in second qualifying, and I don't think he should have started in the back. And you know what? He's learned a lot of this race, and he'll take it on to his home track. It's good that he got another race under his belt before he went to Mexico City, and he doesn't have the willpower syndrome.
Exactly right, and that was certainly the strategy for Jerry Forsyth. That's why he put David Martinez in. That's Chris Moore there telling Nelson Philippe, imploring Nelson Philippe to keep it up. You're doing a great job. Again, good coaching there from Chris Moore for this youngster. Back in the wheel of a ChampCar for the first time in, well, almost a year. And he's running superbly in 8th place. And he set the 5th fastest lap of the race as Nelson Philippe, 1:32.8. That's a remarkable effort. And we were just talking about David Martinez. He's shown as only the 14th best lap of the race at a 1:33.7. However, it's only 3/10 slower than Paul Tracy.
Exactly, and that's you know, that's what he needs to do there. He needs to just keep his nose clean and keep learning. And you know, that seat's up for grabs for next year, or so we believe. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how long Paul hangs around.
Yes, indeed. And there is our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. And Bill Stevens is with Sebastian Bourdais.
Down here with Craig Hampson. Craig, an iffy Friday and Saturday, but I noticed this morning with this team, the mood was light. You guys were loose. I think you felt you might have had something for everybody today.
Yeah, this morning the car was really good in warm-up. The mechanics have had a really tough time this weekend with the crash on Friday, and then we had a bit of a gearbox issue yesterday. But Pedro and the crew, man, they worked hard, worked really late. Car was good this morning, and we knew we had a shot. So pleased how it's going.
Yeah, minutes away from everything paying off, perhaps.
And the Pedro he talks about, Pedro Campuzano, who's the crew chief on this car. And Sebastian Bourdais, his last time around was a 1:33.4. Justin Wilson, by contrast, a 1:32.8. So 0.6 of a second quicker was Justin Wilson than this man, Sebastian Bourdais, last time around. That's the good news. The bad news is the deficit from first to second is about 4.4 seconds. It's come down by about a second over the last couple of laps. But the time, as you can see, is ticking away. Just 13 minutes to go as we see a routine pit stop for Mario.
Alex Figge.
He's got Takata on the rear wing as well, I didn't know that. Also, he's got the colours of Conrad Jupiter's, a local casino in Surfers Paradise, as Alex Figge makes his final stop of the day. Alex was shown in 11th place prior to that stop, staying on the lead lap, at least for now. Whether he'll stay there, we'll have to wait and see, but it's a respectable run for Alex Figge. Now, as I say that, here comes Sebastian Bourdais to put Figge one lap down. And there he goes now, but we're just talking about that gap from first to second. It was 4.4 seconds on the last lap. This time it's 4.0 seconds. That's the good news. Justin Wilson is closing in. The bad news is he's got to get past Graham Rahal first.
Yeah, he's got time to do it theoretically. It's whether Sebastian, once he gets up to speed, you know, Justin's a few laps ahead here as far as tire temps goes, so You know, maybe he's going to change around here. It might close up a little, then it might extend again. He's already passed Graham. You know, he's going to pass Alex Figge next, and we'll see. I don't know. He's got a ton of power to pass as well, so he's got a good 3 or 4 shots of that over Bourdais. Maybe got 2. So it's going to be interesting. If he does catch him, it's going to be down at the last few laps. That's for sure.
Yeah, and here is a routine pit stop now for David Martinez. He gives up 7th place. He has got Neil Jarney right behind him. Just a splash of fuel. Red tyres, the option tyres for David Martinez. Here also is Neil Jarney, the final stop for the Red Bull car of BKV Racing.
Yeah, you know, those guys will go red with 12 minutes to go at this point. You can go red tyres. You're not going to lose your edge on them. And at this point, this is one of those things where you'll hold a couple of sets of reds back and you'll figure out when to use them in the race. If it gets cooler towards the end of the race, you can use reds for a long stint, or if you have a short stint, you can use the reds, and they'll be quicker than the blacks at this point.
And this certainly is a short stint now with just over 11.5 minutes to go in this race. There was a puff of smoke there out of the back of that car.
Yeah, I think he just crossed some of the track with heavy tanks and got some bottoming out.
Shouldn't be that heavy tanks now with only 11 minutes to go. He shouldn't have that much fuel on board, but it's certainly the closing stages of this race. It's Bourdais who leads by just over 4 seconds from Justin Wilson. So 11 minutes to go in Surfers Paradise, another enthralling motor race. It's Sebastian Bourdais has out in the lead ahead of Justin Wilson, Paul Tracy in third, Bruno Junquier in fourth, this man Robert Dornbos, a poor qualifying effort.
The lap time, 6th place is catching up.
I think
6th place is catching us.
I heard this about last time we had a shot with Robert. It sounded like the car's running sick at the minute. I think he's running the cylinder down.
Yeah. You can hear either exhaust is broken or something.
And he's backed off a long way. He's miles back. He's falling, and he's definitely got something wrong.
Yeah, that's an exhaust problem, I believe, on that car. Yeah, you could clearly off song there for Robert Dornbos. 135.5 last time around, so a couple of seconds slower than he was going earlier, and a second slower than most of the other guys at this stage, with the exception of Bourdais and Wilson, who are in the 1 minute 32s, everybody else in the 33s and 34s. And there is our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. He stretched the lead a little bit last time around, so he responded to that challenge from Justin Wilson.
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens this lap. 31.4 for Sebastian. That's a fast lap. We'll see what Justin can do here, but
pretty good.
31.6. Yeah, you know what? It's going to equal out now, and I think Sebastian's got this one.
I think he has, but he's really stepping it up, isn't he? These two are flying. The fastest lap of the race has been set by Sebastian Bourdais, 1 minute 31.3. Last time around it was a 31.4 for Bourdais. Justin Wilson on the previous lap did a couple of laps ago, about 10 laps ago, did a 131.4. This time around, Justin Wilson at 131.6. He lost a couple of tenths of a second. In the meantime, Paul Tracy in third place. He's doing mid 1 minute 34.
Yeah, I can't get over, obviously Oriole's out of the race now, but I still can't get over the lap times these guys are running over anybody else. It's not even close.
No, it's staggering. And no, I think Paul Tracy now is beginning to come under pressure from Bruno Junquier. The gap between the third and fourth place cars is only now just over a couple of seconds. Robert Dornbos in fifth, about 11 seconds farther back down the road. Then Nelson Philippe in sixth place, about 4.5 seconds behind Dornbos. And then Simon Pagenaud in seventh, about a couple of seconds behind Philippe. So there's still the lower placings here, still a lot to play for.
Exactly. I think it's gonna. The first two are gonna kind of figure out where they are. Tracy and Junquier are gonna have a good battle. Tracy's a second and a half slower than what Junquier was that last lap.
6 plus 4 Wilson.
So they cross the line one more time with now just over 8 minutes to go. That'll be, about 5 laps perhaps for Sebastian Bourdais and this Newman House Lanigan Racing team, perhaps to score victory number 104 for this team in its 25th year of racing. Let's have a look at the most championships won in the ChampCar World Series going back to the early 1900s. AJ Foyt with 7, clearly head and shoulders over everybody else in terms of championship statistics. Also 67 wins. Mario Andretti, 4 championships to his name. And look at that series of drivers with 3 championships. Louis Meyer, Ted Horn, he won them back to back to back in 1946, 47 and 48. Another great Rick Mears and Al Unser and Bobby Rahal. Sebastian Bourdais with them, as well as Oriol Servia is rejoining the fray. a long, long way down. And he's good work there by PKV Racing. Never give up and trying to learn something. But Sebastian Bourdais almost certain to clinch his 4th championship, and that would put him on a par with the great Mario Andretti.
Yeah, I'm not 100% why they would send him out at this point.
Well, I think he doesn't have much time with this team, of course. He hasn't.
I don't think he needed to practice after qualifying.
Well, that's right. But maybe they're just trying to learn something here in preparation for the final race in Mexico City.
There's every chance. We had a couple of races this year where we had mechanicals and we went back out and threw on some different springs and tried some different stuff. So maybe they're just trying a little experiment here. And unfortunately, there's not much you can throw on here that you're going to learn for Mexico City, but maybe they're hoping that one of the guys, you got to remember Serbia's still going for a championship here, so or at least a top 3. Maybe they're just trying to hopefully get a couple of those guys in front. They're only a lot behind Dominguez and Figgy, so.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe to make up some ground, they get a couple more championship points. That, of course, will be good for Oriol Servie. He's battling to stay 6th place in the standings. He's where he was coming into this weekend. Ironically, just 1 point ahead of Neil Jarni, who's now his new teammate at PKV Racing. And Graham Rahal is ahead of them in the championship coming into this race. Rahal had 209 points, Servie 204, and Neil Jarni 203. So a lot of money up at stake here in the final championship standings. And here is this battle developing between the 3rd and 4th place cars. We're looking at Paul Tracy and closing fast behind. This is Sonny's Barbecue Del Coin Racing Machine of Bruno Junqueira. And that was Neil Mickelright imploring his man Paul Tracy to hold on to that podium position.
Yeah, and Junqueira is probably one of those guys that will stick his nose in the Paul, so this could be interesting if those guys get closer. I will say that was a pretty impressive job from the PKV guys to repair that much damage and only lose 3 laps.
And there is Bruno Junqueira, 2 consecutive podium finishes for Del Coin Racing. He has had in the European swing the last 2 races at Zolder and Assen. In the previous 23 years, Del Coin Racing only had 2 podiums during that whole 23-year period. So remarkable job that the Brazilian is doing. Now he's trying to wrest away perhaps another podium from Paul Tracy. PT, meanwhile, he's aiming for his 100th top 5 finish, I should say, in the ChampCar World Series. Paul Tracy, he's made this is his 260th start and looking, as I say, for his 100th top 5 finishes, and he's been trying to get that 100th since way back in Edmonton. The last 3 races, all very disappointing outings for PT, and now he's trying to get another podium.
Yeah, I think Paul's numbers are unbelievable. When somebody told me that he'd been racing in IndyCar alone for longer than my career from go-karts till now, I think that shows you how many laps Paul Tracy's done on one of these things.
You're absolutely right, and PT, 259 starts, 31 wins, a total of 74 podium finishes for PT over the years. He wants to make that number 75. There is Nelson Philippe, and he is charging along. He's actually doing some good laps at the moment. He's much quicker than Robert Dornbos, who, as we heard a few laps ago, appeared to have some sort of an engine problem, perhaps, we believe, an exhaust problem. And in the meantime, Sebastian Bourdais is absolutely flying still, Ryan.
Yeah, and Sebastian is just kind of at that point. Him and Craig Hampton love this time of the race when they've got no threat. The car's obviously handling well, and Sebastian gets let loose to try and basically just put a full stop at the end of anybody challenging at this point of the race and set another fastest lap.
Yeah, we've had, this will be the 13th race of the season, and if Bourdais can maintain that, it'll be the 9th time in 13 races that Sebastian Bourdais will clinch that bonus point for setting the fastest lap of the race. 9 out of 13 is amazing.
2 fastest laps in the last 2 laps, one after the other, just in over a second off him at this point.
Here's this battle between Nelson Philippe and Simon Pagenaud, and there is Robert Dornbos as well, so that's the 5th, 6th and 7th, absolutely nose to tail. And behind them there is one of the lap cars of the Pacific Coast Motorsports team, but it's a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Robert Dornbos, Nelson Philippe and Simon Pagenaud that we are watching right now. And there behind them is Alex Tagliani in 8th position.
I do like the paint job of that new Rocket Sports car. I wasn't a big fan of the black and red, but I gotta admit, that's both that and Philippe's car. I think both of them are the 2 nicest cars on the track at this point.
And new colours, a new sponsor for the Rocket Sports team, PBS S Equities, Diversified Global Property Group are joining the Rocket Sports organization for this race in Surfers Paradise. Great to see them on board, and good to see Alex Tagliani having a good, strong run. He won't be certainly satisfied with an 8th place finish, but he's had another pretty difficult weekend for this Rocket Sports team, has Tagliani, and to come through from 11th on the grid to finish in 8th place certainly is not as good as he wanted, but he's had a very strong run in the closing stages. He's got in the top 10 in lap times and trying to close that gap to that battle between Dornbos Philippe and Pagenaud.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying 11th for Alex is not the end of the world, but I think as long as you're going forward and you're having top 8s, he's not satisfied, but he's not going to walk away angry about it. It's a decent day's work for him.
Decent day's work indeed, and another excellent day's work for these two guys. They both had dramas on the first lap of the race. Paul Tracy went spinning. Bruno Junqueira stalled.
Stop next time by. If you want to finish, we're going to stop next time by. Or we can just try and run it out. See if we'll make it. We don't believe we will.
That's Neil Mickelwright on the radio to Paul Tracy. Yeah, he's going to go for it, says Paul Tracy. They reckon they might not have enough fuel to get to the end of the race, and we'll remember... Yeah, nothing to lose, says Paul Tracy. He knew he came in right on the cusp, didn't he, with just about a half an hour to go.
Yeah, I mean, they need this podium, and I think Paul's driven well all weekend, and... why would you come in at this point? At worst you're going to finish. He's going to finish 8th or 9th. You may as well stay out.
And they're going to be within a few seconds of getting to the end of this lap. Because Bourdais is well ahead of him, so he's going to ensure there's going to be one more lap they have to do. So we'll look at the power to pass remaining. 9 seconds for Sebastian Bourdais, 2 seconds for Justin Wilson. Paul Tracy's got lots of power to pass to use, but he doesn't have enough fuel. Or does he? We shall see. Coming through that very quick chicane. We think there's going to be the white flag next time around. So from here, it's got about 3 more miles that Paul Tracy has to go in that car number 3.
Yeah, and not only that, Bruno knows exactly what's going on. Everybody scans the radios, and you can see Paul just visually slowing him down here.
Okay, we're going to stop halfway around. It's the last chance. Yeah, we're going to stop now. It has to be. We're going to quit halfway around the next lap.
Paul Tracy isn't going to worry about that, I don't think. I'm surprised at that.
I didn't see it still.
What is there to lose? PT's not in the championship reckoning. He's going to... in actual fact, how far ahead?
I think he could still stay in the top 5. I think that's why.
I don't think he can.
60...
And he's stalled it as well. I think maybe he's out of fuel. What a disaster for PT. He's done a great job this weekend. He hasn't been particularly fast, perhaps, at least not in the race, but he was quick in qualifying, and that is really sad for Paul Tracy to have to give up a podium finish with just 1 lap to go.
Bruno gets another podium for Delcoin Racing at this point, though.
Absolutely magnificent. He's done a super job again. Again, he's not been desperately fast, but he hasn't been in a position to go fast this afternoon, Bruno. He's been having to save fuel, but look at this. It's Sebastian Bourdais, another magnificent run. There are the checkered flags, and yet another win for Newman Haas Landing and Racing, and for Sebastian Bourdais. Just amazing. Win number 30 for Sebastian Bourdais. That puts him just 1 win behind Paul Tracy, and he's just been stellar since he first came into this championship. He's the first man ever, the first repeat winner here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. You can see the jubilation in the Newman Haas Landing and Racing pit.
4 in a row.
4 in a row indeed for Sebastian Bourdais. He's the first man to win 2 races here in Surfers, and the first man ever to win 4 consecutive championships. There is going to be a party tonight, Ryan Dial.
Bourdais takes the lead. Checkered flag is in the air.
Let's have a look at some of these great successes for Paul Newman there on the right and Carl Haas.
Congratulations, Sebastian.
Bourdais.
It's a great win. It's a great win. It's a great team effort.
It's just been a magnificent career for Sebastian Bourdais in the ChampCar World Series. He's just taken the entire series by storm. It was really the case from the first time he stepped aboard a car in a test at Sebring, Florida. That was in the end of the 2002 season. And let's have a look at now the drivers who have won consecutive championships in the ChampCar World Series. Sebastian Bourdais moves himself ahead now of Ted Horn. 12 other drivers since 1909 have won 2 in a row. Ted Horn, up until 2 years ago, the only man to win 3 in a row, and Sebastian Bourdais now has trumped that. 4 championships in a row. The Vanderbilt Cup once again goes to Sebastian Bourdais, and thoroughly well deserved.
You know, the crazy thing about that, he could have won another 2 years on 03 and 02. Yeah. You know, it's been an unbelievably dominant career from Sebastian and also from Newman Haas. I mean, they've been the class of the field for many years, and you know, and today Sebastian made no mistakes along that way. He's definitely done everything he was asked of and more.
He has indeed, and over 70% of his starts have ended in top 5 finishes. He's won over 41% of all the races he started in the ChampCar World Series. Just an amazing winning percentage over this 5-year career for Sebastian Bourdais.
I think he usually does better in donuts than this.
Well, he's been getting better at it.
That's twice he's had to use reverse on this lap.
Just an amazing result once again. Here's, you look at the unofficial standings. Justin Wilson has to be content once again with a second place finish. He's done a lot of those over the years. I think it's 6 times he's finished second to Sebastian Bourdais. Had another one to those. Bruno Junqueira, a great run to 3rd place. He had to play the fuel save mode through most of this event. And Bruno come away with a great podium finish. 3 in a row for Delcoin Racing. I love it. Robert Dorbos, he too comes from the back of the pack to finish in 4th. Simon Pagenaud in 5th. Nelson Philippe, excellent run. Nelson, the 21-year-old, comes back. His first race in the year, he finishes in 6th in his adopted hometown of Surfers Paradise, Australia. And behind Nelson Philippe, Alex Tagliani, Neil Gianni, Paul Tracy has to be content with a 9th place finish. And of course, interesting that Tracy, Dornbos and Junqueira all on the same fuel strategy, and it's PT that runs out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Paul had the car today. I think because of that, he had to compensate with driving at a higher pace than a lot of the other guys. And, you know, maybe they just didn't get that last bit of fuel in the last stop. You know, it seemed a little out the blue when Neil Mickelwright came over the radio and said that. It didn't seem like it was something that they were telling him to worry about.
And I tell you what, that would have been a call that Neil Mickelwright did not want to have to make to Paul Tracy. They've run him out of fuel already this season in one of the races. I can't remember where it was now off the top of my head, but it certainly happened already this year. The PT has run out of fuel, and that was just the end of a great run for PT, and he'll be so disappointed. He really did think he had a podium finish here. Bill Stevens is in victory circle.
Sebastian Bourdais getting the ceremonial shower of champagne as he wraps up his 4th consecutive ChampCar World Series championship. If he doesn't drown, maybe we can get a word with this great champion. Sebastian, we've had a chance to talk in the winner's circle a lot this year, but this has got to be the biggest one.
Yeah, just, I can't thank this McDonald's crew enough. They put me there once again, and I'm thinking really hard to Claire and Emma and my mom who are back in St. Pete, and this one's really sweet. This one's really, really sweet.
On Friday, when you crashed the car, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking, oh my, maybe I've just blown my chance to do it this weekend?
No, because I knew everything was going to happen on Saturday, but it's obviously a step back. You crash the car, you lose the confidence, but this is the greatest group of people I worked with.
We'll let you enjoy the fruits of your labors. Thank you.
1 year ago, Sebastian Bourdais clinched the title here in Surfers Paradise with a very mediocre run to 8th place. This time, he does it in style with a magnificent victory, and that is win number 30 out of just 72 starts in the ChampCar World Series. Here is confirmation that he's with a 62-point lead. Sebastian Bourdais is the champion. Wilson extends his lead over Robert Dornbos to 6 points in the battle for second, and Will Power, with that disappointing run, falls back to a distant 4th place. Graham Rahal in that very tight battle for 5th on down, just ahead of Neil Jarni, Bruno Junqueira, Simon Pagenaud, and Oriol Servia.
Another fuel economy race, close, but not quite close enough.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, you know. The first part of the race, the way it's shaped out with the yellows, we had to choose between two strategies, and we opted the same as Sebastian, and we managed to catch him, overtake him at one point in the middle of the race, but he managed to leapfrog us back at the end. So just really pleased, you know, everybody on the team's done a great job all weekend despite the uncertainty about the future, but just got to thank everyone on the number 9 CDW Sport car.
And in the bigger picture, second in the championship, that's some good points towards that with 1 to go at Mexico City.
Yeah, that helps a lot, and that's the main thing today, you know, is getting the points for that. Towards the end of the race, I was starting to lose my brakes and my tyres, so I had to back it off slightly, and it was frustrating not being able to go for the win, but just had to think of the big picture.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bruno Junqueira, quite a celebration going on behind you, but you have to be proud of what you did. This is not...
Was a great run for Bruno Junqueira. By the way, it's Alex Tagliani who's 10th in the points. It's been a great race in Surfers Paradise. Finally a 2-time winner here. Sebastian Bourdais ties up the championship. My thanks to Ryan Dalziel, to Bill Stevens on pit lane. My name is Jeremy Shaw. Thanks for joining us here in Surfers Paradise. We'll see you again for the season finale in 3 weeks' time in Mexico City.